last year I did really, really, really well with selling dance NFTs. Like, it was just fucking nuts.
Like how well? Mate?
Doing it.
We're 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 doing it.
We're
Well.
doing it.
This is all in my face. Welcome back to the capsule, everyone. We have Tally back.
Yay! Oh.
Bye-bye, Jenny.
No, well, that's
Kind of bye-bye, Jenny.
yeah.
Nope.
These are the people that are here, not in the right
It's
order.
been too long.
Meet Tally.
Yay! Tally's back.
It's been too long. You've been here. I forgot where your button was.
For us, it's been weeks and weeks, but for her, it's only been a few minutes, and that's a Narnia reference.
It is a Narnia. Wow.
We'll get back to
We
that.
definitely planned that.
I actually just thought of it now. I'm just fucking off the dome, guys. So we also have NFT Man in the house.
Do you have a button?
I
Don't have a button.
Yay! That'll do.
My friend, my man.
If you do
my
not
man.
know who NFT
Not
Man
my
is,
actual man.
oh, she's like, before this gets misconstrued. If you don't know who NFT Man is and you're not watching the video, we have Dylan Mayoral in the house. Another one because he deserves it for revolutionizing our industry.
We'll see.
Hi guys, how's it going? How the fuck are y'all?
Good.
Very good.
Good. Oh wait, did
Right.
we do the intro?
No.
Should we roll the intro?
Yes.
All right.
Say something.
Something. And we're back. Well, I feel like there's a lot to get through this week. Let's start with our resident Talladega. How the fuck are you?
It's been a while, hey?
It has been a while. We've missed you. We have missed you.
Missed you too.
Me and Abe have been a runaway train without you. And
Chaos.
Yes. Chaos, as always. So Dylan, your job is to replace the chaos segment.
All right. I think I can do that well.
I need a balance. Yeah, so how's things been? What's going on with the old Nans?
Yeah, Lion, Witch and Wardrobe is open now. Woo!
How long for now?
Amazing.
Until January.
Oh, as in, sorry, how long has it been open?
Preview started on the 18th of June and then press night was 28th, so
Sick.
How did it go?
few weeks.
Can we just lift
Sorry.
a little touch? Sorry.
I don't know if you can.
Lift it up further than it needs to go.
And then it will land in the... Yeah? Better?
Boom, perfect. Thank
Look
you.
at that. What did you ask me?
How's it been going? Yeah.
It was nice. It's quite strange to have like... It's obviously been a whole process from beginning of June, but then for me with the tour in September and then it to all from the outside in boil down to that evening is really strange. And then I met my parents for a drink after before and like seeing these like C and D list celebrities on the carpet and it's just like, oh, this is awkward. I don't know if I want to do the carpet and like no one knows who I am, so why am I walking on the carpet? And I was like, no, you do have to.
Yeah.
And like just leaning into the novelty of the moment, even though in a very Tally way I was just like
no, but it's also
so
cool because
whatever.
it's like, you know, there's a lot of people that we don't necessarily know who they are in the sense of like their name or their face on a broader scale in celebrity culture, but like for example there's a TV show that a Netflix series that I like called Abstract Art of Design. You watch it? Did you see the one on the Black Panther stylist?
No. Yes, I think.
And she does a lot of different stylist stuff or costume designer, or I figure I'm probably butchering her job role. But for example, it's like I'd never knew who she was, but I'm like, now that I like know a bit about who she is, I'm like, oh, that's fucking sick. Like you're the person responsible for all this cool shit that we see.
Right, yes.
So I think in that same way that I was interested in something like that, other people who are maybe not dancers or whatever will be like, oh, who's that? And then, you know, if they find out, they're like, oh, that's the choreographer. Like, oh shit, she's responsible for like all the cool shit that we see on this big stage. So it's not so much like you're on the red carpet because you're a name or a face that everybody knows, but it's like you're responsible for something that everyone sees, which is equally as cool, I think.
Yeah, and I did try to, and am trying to like stand on that fact a little more rather than go, oh, it's done, and like forget it ever happened or not act accordingly, but a little bit. But there's a guy called Leon that works on Stage Door, and he's an older black guy that used to dance. And then there's, oh my goodness me, I can't remember his, Dell. I want to say his name's Dell. He's a security guard at the theatre, and he's also a older black man that used to dance. And they have been so sweet and kind just about like the fact that I am a black woman in that venue doing the work that I am, and I knew it because I'm just surrounded by 20 plus white people like 6 days a week. But like I hadn't felt it, and like after, I mean, I don't think I was tipsy, it was more so hungry and tired and overwhelmed, but just having Leon speak on that a little bit, and just what it means, just it being a big deal. And I mean, obviously for you, us as a culture outside of our community, because even for our community it feels like I'm not the first to have done it, but it does feel like a big deal. And I also think in the race context, like it feels like a big deal similarly with Jade and Hex, that it's not a black story, because a lot, and the leads being black, like that's generally the way if it's to tell a story about being black or black experience, and for it to not be, and for me to have been brought in despite that fact felt like quite a big thing.
That makes a lot of sense.
So yeah, it's been great. I've come out of it like it's like it never happened a little bit, but yeah, a magical thing.
Well, we're proud of you.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's amazing.
Big steps.
And I feel like these things are, I think you get like not necessarily it's hard to get perspective from it for yourself, but meaning like you see the deeper meaning or the more big picture when it's somebody else.
Yes.
But when it's you, it's kind of like, oh, well, I'm just here doing my work, and I'm not necessarily trying to make it a point to represent and fight for something that's bigger than myself, because I'm just here focusing on trying to get through this thing, or not through it, but like trying to deliver the best thing that you can deliver. But I think, often we're faced of like, we don't necessarily like, you're just a person, so you don't necessarily want to be like the voice or claim yourself to be, but at the same time it's something that we can't separate from, of being a certain gender or a certain religion or a certain race or in certain places means something. And I think sometimes there's also a fear that that's going to take away from the work. That like, oh, the reason why like the reason why I'm there is because of this, or just to be a representation and not because I actually deserve it, or
which I think is also speaks to what she's saying about it not being a black story. So it's like if there was like a woman choreographer for the first time, but it was like, oh, we're telling the story about a woman or blah blah blah, then it's like it's you kind of maybe internally feel that other people could say, oh yeah, because it like this is the justification of why. Whereas if it's just a story that's been told, and like something like the Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, which is like fucking decades old, I guess, it's like, oh, there's no justification for this besides I'm good.
Well, I said to the resident choreographer, and not Jevon, the lady called Tash Halway, who I didn't know, and the director, that I was sure I was a diversity hire.
Oh,
like I didn't mind saying it. And I don't feel bad about it. Like, bring it on. I want the jobs and I want the money. So it's like me being and luckily for you, I can do it really well. So if you're taking a punt because there's only a few black females and a lot of them are very busy, like you can take a punt on me, and luckily for you, I'll do a good job for you. But I was reassured that wasn't the case. But
they're like, we're actually really racist, but we just couldn't find any white people that were better than you.
No, my director was very, very good at like clarifying, even outside of that conversation, but just being very sweet about like what it was about me that had got me the job, and nice. It not being the color of my skin.
Which is good that they reassure you about that.
And also I think it's probably like, it's good that you bring it up for you to bring it up also, you know.
It would have been weird if they came, just so you know.
It's not a diversity hire.
No, but I think they're at the same time, like, a lot of these uncomfortable conversations, you know, in a sense, like, people kind of pussyfoot around it or don't want to tackle it. And it's like, I know, you know, but, you know,
Yes.
I know, but
Yes.
let's not talk about it. So sometimes...
This is very not a tally situation
Yeah,
to be in.
I mean, I've been in a place also where I was like, you think I don't know that if I wasn't like BAME, that you think I would be here if I wasn't BAME? Like, you know?
Do you think I'm that dumb?
Yeah, like, let's be clear about that. We all know it, so let's not act like, no.
Is it the situation I'm thinking about?
Yeah, you 100%, like, for sure. Yeah, we would have just hired you anyways. It's like,
But isn't
I
it?
don't think so.
Yeah.
But anyways, all that to say, it's really fucking dope that you did it, and I for sure will go see it.
Where's that button at?
Thanks.
So the process from now is obviously you did the thing, you set the show up, and now it starts to run. You're not in there day to day now.
No, so you have me as choreographer, Jevon as associate choreographer, Tash as resident choreographer, Jazz as dance captain. There's a whole
Team.
thing.
So resident choreographer is responsible for what?
Resident choreographer keeps it in shape. The strange thing about this one is that Tash was dance captain for tour and was on the tour as a cast member. This time she hasn't been around for the process but is now coming in to be resident, which I do find a little bit odd because she wasn't there. So now Jevon and I have to get her up to scratch, when in my opinion Jevon could have just been resident, but hey.
But are they the resident choreographer who's there, are they kind of authorized to make certain changes, or is it just keep it to the vision that I put it
It's just keep it in the state that it's in,
right?
or like they'll reach out to me if there's changes that need to be made. But I think the reason that Tash is doing it, just to contradict my own point mere seconds ago, is because she did it before and was dance captain and swing. If like we lose 3 people,
She could jump in.
she'll be really speedy with just formations, or like
Fixing
you
it.
do such and such's track, you do such and such's
Got ya,
track.
got ya.
Whereas Jevon as associate was more process of getting it back on its feet in the first place.
Got you. Okay. So yeah, so it's more like resident maintainer.
Yeah, so she'll
way.
be the person watching, generally noting, and then I will go in every other month and have a look and be like, what on earth is this now? Or like, great job, you've kept it in shape.
Yeah.
Thumbs up. But I had this conversation with Ema while I was on holiday.
I saw your
I
holiday
definitely
snaps.
took 2 holidays during that rehearsal process. I was like, fuck this. Like, yeah, so I'm NA that week. Then
Yeah.
thinking, oh, are you working somewhere? It's like, no, it's my friend's 40th. We're going to Ibiza. It's like, are you working in Eindhoven? No, my friends are producing a festival and I'm going. But about like the structure and the very clearly defined roles in theatre as opposed to commercial work. I don't know if you've spoken about it on the pod
No.
before. I mean, I think it exists in hip hop theatre, but we just like, you'll have a choreographer and maybe an assistant. You're not going to have the rung of people on the team.
Maybe we touched on it, but yeah, go on.
But with Ema and I, we were talking about the choreographer ending up as like the dancer representative, almost like agent on the job-ish. Like if there's any problems, that it's the choreographer that dancers will generally go to in commercial. Yeah.
Okay.
And like Ema thinking that was right. And then me with my recent experience being like, no, like I just want to do like the bit that's my actual job, which is making the work. And like in theatre, there's company manager, this isn't their sole job, but like part of their job is like clock watching and going to the director, hey, 5 minutes and then tea, 5 minutes till lunch. Like wild.
Yeah. As opposed to the choreographer stopping rehearsals and saying, now it's time
Or
for a
just there not being breaks.
yeah.
Or nobody doing it.
Or like no one doing it, and like a call sheet, like a schedule every day. And just
Would
I
you
really
look at that?
yeah, like I really enjoyed the
Structure.
and like the respect that is alluded from having a structure. Like we had an equity rep come in because we'd be getting call sheets at like midnight, 1 in the morning, because Sheena, the company manager, bless her, I get it, she was overwhelmed, but Equity said like you should have that 48 hours in advance, like so you can actually like plan your life. Like I've got a mate at the moment working commercially, and like they're getting their calls, and even like if they're rehearsing or not, like evening off, and just like, how are you supposed to get anything else done? And you know, the choreographer thinking it's great if they get told, if they're telling everyone, come in at 2 this afternoon, like chill this morning because I need to do such and such. It's like, yeah, that's great, but if you'd have told me at an earlier hour, I might have been able to get something done myself in that time.
Yeah, not just, I don't want
it's
to
9 a.m. So what
days.
am I supposed to do now? So I enjoy the structure.
Yeah, I think there's definitely something in that where we all kind of, I think it's like a society thing as well, that we look at like hierarchy as being a bad thing, or like, and for me it's like hierarchy can be a bad thing, but in general it's like there's a reason for it. It's like because you're delegating certain things, and it's like I don't always want to be in charge of everything. Like I was at a contemporary festival recently, and one of the acts was talking about her process is like she wants to create in a way that's non-hierarchical, so there's no one choreographer, it's a whole group of people all creating equally, and to me that sounds like hell, because it's like
good luck.
Yeah, because it's like I want hierarchy. I want a time when it's like, listen, even if it's section by section or anything, how we're doing this, but whether it's like running an event, choreographing something, even just fucking, I don't know, anything, it's like, who is in charge here? Because I need to know when, because you know sometimes when you're like this is kind of a broader topic, I guess, but you know when you're like, I don't know, you're stressed about something or something's not going to plan, like I can easily switch my brain off if I'm like, this ain't my job. It's like someone else is getting paid to worry about this part of the day. Like let's say we all go to lunch and it's like, well, when do we have to be back? It's not my job to be back at time. Someone's going to come here and get us when we're done. Cool. I just fucking switch my brain off and chill and eat. And then they come and say, right, 5 minutes till think, okay, cool, let's go. But if I have to be in charge of that, I get, you know what I mean? It's more stuff to think about.
Yeah.
So I think regardless of the situation, I think you don't even have to look at it as like someone's more important than another in that way, but it's just like we all have specific jobs, and everybody having a specific job and at least 1 or 2 people above them to manage who does all these jobs, so it makes one thing, actually is way more effective, because each person just has to focus on their one thing, wires don't get crossed. I think with event management especially, like, and it's kind of similar, I guess, with to event management, like running an entire show. It's kind of the same sort of thing, but it's like you have to have that. You have to have someone whose job is this, because then it's like, oh, you get that moment of like, well, we didn't have a break all day. It's like, oh, whose job was that? Well, the choreographer didn't give us a break. Oh, well, you didn't tell us that you needed a break. It's like, all right, no, someone's job is structure of the day. Someone's job is call sheets, or you know what I mean? And it's like,
and I think in a sense, it's kind of like society, like it's kind of like society, or like, you know, if you just live in a small tribe and it's like very kind of egalitarian and everyone can contribute because it's really small and everyone agrees on like a set of shared values, it's easy to manage and sure. But when you get to like, you know, living in a big city or working on a large production, it's like if you don't have people looking after certain things, then
chaos.
Balls start to be dropped and people are forgotten, people are not looked after, and then it's like you get unhappy people, whether it's like on the tech team or the performers or the people taking care of set or the people taking care of costumes. And like, you know, I think part of like, I mean, probably any company, but even more like, I would say performing arts, where you want the people on stage to give like, to want to give the best, you know, and you want everybody to work at their like at their highest capacity and to give the best of themselves. If people don't feel looked after, that is the first thing that's going to start like being like, well, fuck it, like they don't care about me, so why should I care about this? You know,
you've been there.
So I think it's like it's such a, anyways, and I'm saying this also from the perspective of like working on that side as a producer, where for me it's like, for sure, whenever I work on a project, the final product, you know, the final thing is like what everybody is working towards. But at the same time, getting there is not worth like everybody having a miserable time for because the time that you spend on the process is actually much longer than the time you're going to spend in
Delivering
the performance,
the work,
delivering. So it's like that part is actually even more important to make it like an enjoyable experience, where when you get to the product, everyone is excited to be there and everyone wants to give the best that they can. So your job as a producer, I find, or as a company, is to make sure that all the things are in place so that people can do the best work that they can.
And the process is also more important, because that's where the thing gets created. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like if the factory is shit and no one's checking on the manufacturing line or the cars or whatever, it's all good that the car will get out the door, but it will get a mile down the road and break down. You know, so it's like, it's the same thing. It's like, if you're not being looked after as you choreograph and as you create, you might get to the final thing, but it's going to look like shit, you know,
And
compared to...
the same as like a 48-hour ahead call sheet is not like sexy or exciting, but at the same time, it's like, oh, then all the dancers like get in there and they're all happy because they got done what they wanted to get done, and they feel like their time is valued and considered, so they're there ready to like give everything they got, and then the show is like, oh my god,
and they have a life outside of
the
show.
the energy was so good in the room and it was so nice to be there, and you can feel everybody's joy, and you're like, you think that just magically happened? So yeah, all that to say that.
Agreed. Yeah, sick.
So a good time.
Very good time.
And then celebrated with Jevon by doing HDI this week. So that was
Oh yeah. Tell us about
sick.
HDI.
I wish I was there.
Doing, teaching,
taking.
Cool.
Yeah, I was just went
Was it
straight
in
back
London?
into sweating through t-shirts. It was just before Beckton on the DLR. Like UEL's sports doc.
Cool.
How
was that?
Wicked. I really enjoyed it. I
Really?
think.
What?
You're surprised.
No, I don't know. I just sometimes I forget that background of yours of like the routine taking, class taking,
Right?
type thing, and then when you're like, oh yeah, I really enjoyed doing that, I'm like, oh yeah, you did do that for like the majority of your...
My foundation is built
Yeah.
on choreo class. I don't forget. Like, I know that, but returning to it physically, I'm like, oh my god, I spent
So long.
decade. Like, I was a camp. I've been to most HD. I taught at the first one in 2013.
Subtle flex.
Subtle flex, yeah.
I remember seeing videos of that.
Yeah, wild. And then I've been to most since.
My gosh.
Yeah, if I didn't give that thought and I just like tally in a large space of loads of people doing like
In a
commercial
like
choreography,
basketball court.
yeah, I'd be like, no, she's gonna hate that. And then I'm like, oh wait, yeah, no, there was...
That is
Wow.
what she used to do.
That's
She
the
used
tally I
to
met.
Go to summer drop and all that
Yeah.
jazz. Like Ian Eastwood's first time in the UK. I think Jack and I went to Bolton. Like I would
mad.
go about for that stuff, Sunshine Studios and all that. Yeah.
Is that
so
Michelle's
yes,
studio?
it was still. Yeah, I think Josh was still involved then, but HDI wasn't a thing then.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, because Jevon and I intended to go to Take Flight at some point, and that didn't happen, and he's not done a camp before. So when it came up and the timing was that it was just after press night, we were like, let's just go and sweat it out.
Nice.
The lineup, I wouldn't have gone if it was just any old
Sure.
lineup, but Toby, D Darren, however you say his surname, so sorry. Ian Eastwood, Jay Blaze didn't end up teaching, but he was on the lineup. But Jaquel Knight took his place. Candice Brown, like they're all people that I wanted to train with. So as with Take Flight, I'd say like 10%, no, maybe like 20 for Jaquel's class, but largely an international crowd. Like London people are not trying to go
How
to
come?
camps.
Because we have a lot of classes, so it's just the same.
Have a lot of classes. It's not cheap.
Does it work out as like each class, like let's say if you pay overall,
I think it still works out as a little more than a normal class.
would it be
For
a little
sure.
more than a normal workshop with someone like Candice Brown or whatever? Like if she came to London, just
no,
did
I think it would. I think, I'm not sure for this one, but I'd done the maths before, and I think it worked out at like 12 quid a class. So cheaper than a masterclass situation, but a little more expensive than a normal.
yeah, which is good if you're getting all
class.
those international.
But I think it was 440 for the week,
okay for 5 days.
Saturday to Friday. Yeah, 5 days because they're not in today. But you've got like Brian Friedman in there as well. Like it gets a bit more commercial as the week goes on. But it depends. Like if you are attracted to, like, it's worth it if the lineup appeals. If it's just for an intensive week of training, you can tailor make that for yourself.
Which I get if you're
studio.
not from London, because it's way harder to get to classes every day for 5 days. So you might as well go when they've got a lineup packed out days, you know. And you might not also, if you're not from London or a big city where you have a lot of classes, it might be like, you can come down to London for 3 days, but in those days there might not be that caliber of teachers all in one thing. So I kind of get it in that way, but also I get that if you're from London, you're like,
yeah, it's a bit of a snobbery here in this city.
I was thinking about this. Why did you say there weren't a lot of people from London? Yeah, I was thinking about this. I spoke to Josh briefly about this, because even in my camp, although my camp makes a lot of sense though, because most of the teachers were from London, so that makes sense.
It makes sense that people don't come.
There was 90 people in my event, and there were less than 10 people that were actually from London. I get it. I get it. But yeah, I think there's a couple reasons for not a very high attendance of London dancers, but it is still interesting, because everywhere I go, everywhere else I go, the local dancers are like dying to take this event. But it's like you said.
But would you get that if you did something like that in LA or New York? Or like when you say everywhere you go, it might be like some country where there's not that level of dancers all the time.
That's the thing. But I think still, I still think LA is tough because a lot of the dancers in LA are not from LA. Like I feel like, I could be wrong in saying this, but I feel like there are a lot of dancers in London that were born and raised in London. And I don't know, out of the percentage of dancers in LA, how many were actually born and raised in LA or like that local area.
Percentage of people that live in LA, I guess.
Yeah, it's very much but yeah.
I think this is such an interesting thing that I've always seen with like I say with dancers, but I haven't been in a lot of different industries besides that, so it might be all over the world. But like, where we tend to look at stuff where I think we should be looking at kind of the information as like marketing feedback or information, but we're looking at it as like a human motivation, right? So it's like, oh, people from London don't come, that means people from London don't care about me, or they don't support me, or they don't want to train and they're lazy. And it's like, let's just look at this as like how Nike, I always do this with like clothing brands or whatever, but like how Nike would look at like, oh, people from London aren't buying this shoe. Why not? It's not because, oh, people don't care about Phil Knight or whatever. It's like, what is the reason that we could attribute to this? So then you think, right, so if people from London don't take this type of camp with this type of teacher, maybe we create something else for the people from London, or you know what I mean? Or we focus our marketing on people outside of London. We don't try and market to people in London because we know they don't come anyway. So I think there's a lot to be gained from actually just looking at the turnout, because I've seen people do this a long time where they'll bitch online that people don't come to their class, and I'm like, have you considered that you're not that good of a teacher?
Worth saying, I don't think Josh cares.
Oh, no. Sorry, not to say this about HDI, because I haven't heard him complain that people aren't coming. But I think just in general, it's interesting because people will go to it's kind of a cognitive dissonance thing anyway, but like people will go to the first reason that blames other people rather than, I don't market my class that well, I'm just not that popular, something about my material isn't what people want right now. You know what I mean? And it's like, those are really real reasons. Go on.
Oh my God.
Burning.
Like, I don't know.
Disagree?
I don't know if... No. I agree. But like, I have this thing that I've been thinking about for years that like, if I start saying right now, we could go deep into this topic. Shall we go into it? It's very...
We don't know what you're about to say.
Okay,
so.
okay.
I don't know until I hear it.
I would like to
give
share
us a
something.
tagline and then we'll decide.
Okay.
I've missed you.
What's the title of the article?
How selective professional dancers are with the classes that they take.
Okay.
And I've been thinking about this for a lot of years. And I do want to make a video on this and gather my thoughts like as precisely as possible, and actually make the point that I want to make. But I do want to converse with you guys briefly.
Sure.
Thanks.
I feel I'm a bit concerned. I have a bit of a concern with the new generation. This is an ongoing issue even with our generation, but I feel like it's kind of getting worse where, in my opinion, if you are a professional dancer or you're an aspiring professional dancer, correct me if I'm wrong, but don't you want to be as versatile as possible? Don't you want to be able to execute as many different styles as possible, as many different movement qualities as possible, be able to move, be able to pick up groovy choreo, be able to pick up isolated choreo, be able to pick up many different types and styles. And I feel like there is a big chunk of our community that they want to be professional dancers and they want to be working dancers, but they will only stick to a certain style or a certain genre of classes. And I feel like there is I feel like a lot of people in our community who want to be professional dancers. And I emphasize that because if you're just taking class for fun, I think it's fine. You can take whatever class you want. But it doesn't make sense to me that if you are trying to be a professional dancer and you want to be able to take auditions and smash it and make them choose you without question, right? I just feel like there's too much selectivity. Is that a word? I don't know. There's too much selectivity. And why I'm getting concerned is because you briefly mentioned there are a few people in our circle in the community, maybe like a bit more underground, and who can teach, and they teach very well, and they teach things that a lot of people would feel uncomfortable in their class, but they're teaching really good stuff that could make them stand out in auditions. And I mean, two examples that I can give is David Cottle and Chowden. Like, I've spoken to David a couple times about this, not so much Chowden, but Chowden, I think, is stopping his class now.
I did hear that.
And
touching on weekly news, he's a professional already. Fucking hell.
And when he stated, and I understand, like you said, I do believe it's not as simple as people don't want to take Chowden's class just because, like, I think there are many different reasons, and I think there are things that can be done to help attract more people to class. But I would just love to see professional dancers taking class from, like, even people that they might feel uncomfortable in their class, but they are great teachers and they can make you better.
So I'll give you my potential devil's advocate on this, and you could both tell me where and when you disagree. I think from my admittedly outside perspective on class and class culture in the kind of commercial or choreo scene, right? I see this kind of duality where it's a training space, but it's also very much a promotion and almost like an audition space, right? People get picked from class all the time for stuff, right? People build up relationships with choreographers who go on to hire them and blah, 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 right?
That's what it's become, yeah.
So in the battle world, we don't have that. We have that more with battles, where the battle itself is not, it's important in the sense of you want to win just for the pride, or you want to win the money, cool. But also it's your promotion. It's where you like get your fucking Insta clips from. It's where people see you if you do.
Mic okay?
It keeps fucking falling like that. It's really
come on, speak in the mic.
Oh, shut up.
Because he always tells me off about not speaking in the mic.
There we go. I fixed it. Don't need you anymore.
Never needed you in the first place.
So with the battles, you have your hey, she's back. We have the promotion side of it, where people are seeing you, using it as your advertising, which can get you hired for jobs, it can get you hired for judging, for guests, all that type of shit, right? If you blow it up in a battle. You also have your what was I going to say? Yeah, you're auditioning in the sense, in that same way, where it's like you putting yourself out there publicly in a battle is kind of showing what you can do, and the people who are the shakers and movers in the scene might see you and offer you a job or whatever, right? But when we have like workshops, and admittedly like battle style workshops are very dead, like not a lot of battlers or freestylers go to workshops, and there's another reason for that I think is fair, but they're two separate avenues. So when I'm in class, and if I decide to go to a fucking whacking class or anything. I don't really care about being stupid because none of my like promotion or relationships are coming from that. Like no one, even if I go there and there's someone who's like super connected in the industry, they're like, oh yeah, he's just training, but when he goes to the battle, that's when I'll pay attention. And that's why I might not enter like a whacking battle or a locking battle, because I'm like, I personally would because I don't give a shit, but people might not because they're like, oh, I don't want to look stupid in that arena because that's where people are going to judge me. Whereas for us, like in the workshop arena or the class arena, we very rarely get judged or picked up for stuff. And I feel like, say with the choreo stuff, when you've got things like combined, I do, especially, I'm more talking about young people that are mature and haven't really grasped it yet of how to separate themselves or even just built up a name. I think I kind of understand where it's like, right, this is the place where people are watching me. I'm gonna like I need my promotion from this. Like I need these connections. I need these relationships. So this is maybe the place where I feel uneasy about putting myself out there and doing stuff that I feel uncomfortable because it's very like this. I need to train, but also I need this choreographer to think I'm fucking cool. And let's say if Sheldon's the one that's booking, let's say Trap Lord or something like that, right? Let's say if I use myself as an example, right? I have a personal relationship with Sheldon. It's a bit different, but he knows me as like a popper or a freestyler, blah, blah. If he sees me in battles and I kill it and stuff and I hang around with him and I train with him, he might be like, oh, it looks pretty dope. Maybe we should ask him for that audition. If I come to his class and I'm just dying every week and I do shit, he might like, it might undo that image he has of me. Even though I'm growing, he might see, oh, Luke's working hard, but he kind of sucks at choreo. So I might lose an opportunity that I could have had, if that makes sense. Which in my head, I can reason out. But I guess if you're 18 and Sheldon's not just, you know, some guy that you've seen for 10 years in the scene like he is with me, or like, you know, or like a friend who I know will give me the benefit of the doubt and talk to me. But if you're just like, oh, Sheldon, or like these people that you look up to, you might not want to put that image in their head or make them see you in their worst light, which is hard when it's in a training environment.
Yes.
Is that a holy argument?
No, I think it's fair.
Okay.
I think just taking specific classes is fine as long as it aligns with like what you're hoping to achieve. And some aspiring professionals might be like, I want to work specifically as a specialist in such and such a style, so I'm only going to focus on that. But if it is, as it is for many, just wanting to work and wanting to cater to whoever will have them, because that's how many young people start out, just not in a bad way, but just like
I need money, I don't want to get booked.
I just want to work, then it would make sense to make yourself bookable by in as many styles as possible. And also in the realm of a lot of choreography classes that have snippets of styles in them, the teacher may not be referencing what style they've used. They might not be aware themselves, although one would hope that they would be. But it would bode well if you're in classes that take bits of Afro or take bits of light feet, to find yourself in a light feet or an Afro class. I think a really good thing...
doesn't make sense.
I think a really... seeing a lot of Amapiano as well at the moment. It's not a dance style, but obviously rooted in Africa. What I think the lineup, as much as there's a lot of hype teachers on the HDI lineup, what Toby and Ian specifically were very good at is referencing the styles that they were using. Ian obviously heavily influenced by light feet, and he's giving the terminology. He's saying the person that taught him the move. He's, you know, even giving the anecdote of the time, and like that kind of class isn't for everyone. So I don't want story time or anecdotes. Like, you know, we know there's a balance to be found, and I did think he had that sweet spot. But to just throw in a little thing and like go through it like it's just a basic choreographic phrase when it is something rooted in a foundation is a real misstep. And I think that it is on the student to share the responsibility in finding out about those things. Bit of a sidebar.
Okay, I hear you.
Yeah, I'm just very concerned.
Sorry, it's not funny that you're concerned.
I'm just
very serious.
I feel I do feel a type of way about it, because I do really love, like, I do really love our scene, and I want people to be the best version of themselves if they want it. if they want to be, and I do feel like they do, and I can see how many people want to make this as a living and want to be successful in dance, but I don't feel like there's a lot of mentorship within the community. I feel like as a dancer, it's very much in, like, I'm lucky because I always had, in every environment I was training in my early days, I had like a lot of mentors to look up to, and I kind of adopted their values and philosophies within training, and I felt like I just feel like that was very healthy for my career and my personal growth. But I feel like I just don't like it makes me feel weird that like there's a whole generation, this is how I feel, there's a whole generation that are coming up now that is like, okay, like I want to get good at choreo, so I'm just going to take as many choreo classes. I'm going a bit off here, but this is kind of similar. I want to get good at choreo, so I'm just going to take as many choreo classes as I can, but I'm not going to repeat any of the choreo that I learn, or like the steps that I learn. I'm not going to repeat anything to solidify it into my body. I'm not going to master, like, you know, that's why foundations are so good, because
you're drilling.
Yeah, you're repeating a style, a format of steps that you solidify into your muscle memory. And I'm just sad, you know. I just.
But I think if you do have good teachers, even if it is on choreo, and we can segue very soon if you would like, you don't need to repeat. Like the lessons will remain, and the toolbox will get filled outside of the phrases that you've just learned. But that does take a certain kind of student.
It's also like it's the what you're using it for, I guess, because people not, let's say, like learning a choreo and then forgetting it is like, that's maybe focusing on their pickup rate, and it's like, I don't need the material, I just need to know how quickly I can pick up movement and put it in my body. It's kind of the same, but not with like freestylers who do an entire workshop but never freestyle with. It's like, okay, you learned a walkout in popping, right? But at no point during, before or after did you freestyle and put a walkout into your freestyle, because that's, for me, is like the only thing that matters. Is like, okay, cool, you can do a move, but how can you put it into your, because these are all freestyle styles. So it's like, is how you train, I guess, is like depending on what you're focused on. And maybe it's like someone's learning popping because they only ever want to do popping routines, and in that case, that's fine, don't put it in your freestyle. But for me, I'm like, as I'm doing a workshop, I'm like, okay, Sean taught me this move. Now, immediately I'm like, oh, how would I fit that into the way I move? Okay, I would do this and then do that. Like, and I think that's based on exactly what I want to do with the stuff. I immediately want to put it into practice. You teach me a new move, I want to have it in the next round that I do in a battle.
The disposable thing is interesting, because I was comparing how I used to take, like, do big class days, like 4 classes in a day. And like, I'd max out because I really wanted to retain everything that I'd learned through the day. Like to like space. Practice when I got home, or just like, mostly practice when I got home and do it again when I can actually hear it and all that jazz. Whereas now, when the class is done, even if I am just taking one class, my brain kind of, you learn how to retain what's useful and discard what isn't. Like, there's nothing really to be gained from me remembering 8 counts of 8, like the actual bits. There'll be steps in there like, oh, I didn't know that, and like the foundation of that will remain. But the only way I'm going to make it through 10:30 till 7 o'clock class day is if I get rid. But again, that's like, you learn how to learn
and
effectively.
I think another thing that I was thinking on this is like, the same way that we have the, in the battle world, like the art versus sport discussion, or the balance, I guess in the commercial world or the choreo world, it's art versus business in a way. And I mean, we have that element too, but it's like, let's say like, okay, we have the art side of things where it's a bit more kind of caring and I don't know, you want to build people up and blah, blah. And then you have the sport side, which is like, okay, well, your way of training badly means I'm going to beat you, so don't care. Whereas like, say in the commercial world, it's like, or I don't know what you want me to call it, but like that world, it is an industry. That's why we say like the dance industry versus the dance like culture or the dance scene or whatever. It's two kind of different things, even though they intersect. But it's like in any industry, it's very rare to find mentors or people to look up to. In any industry, it's super competitive. And to be honest, with something as huge as I think we have a little bit more time for beginners because we know that the battle scene is relatively really small. Whereas in the commercial scene, I feel like there's so many people that say they want to be dancers, and all these people that you're speaking about, it's like they might actually, like, I feel like, well, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but like the people that do actually want to be choreo dancers will rise to the surface, and they're the ones who will make the right decisions. The ones that are not, that are saying they want to be commercial dancers or choreo or professional dancers and not training the right way or not taking the right class and just chasing the clout classes or whatever, they're not actually the ones that want to do it. They're just the ones that want.
I think I do agree with you, but I think some of it
is it no
no, it's a bit of shade there.
no.
Go on.
I think some of it is that they don't actually know. Like, how can you know what good training is if you don't have any mentors, you've never experienced it, and you've only experienced one type of training? Also, your mentors are the people around you who are doing the exact same thing and who have a similar mentality. So it's very hard to break out of that cycle. And for someone to break out of that cycle, they have to dismantle a part of their identity. They have to be willing to be like, to jump in the deep end and go to a class that will make them feel so uncomfortable and so out of who they are that most people will just never take that step. Whereas like I can say for me personally, because like I've experienced it, like from the get-go, I was always extremely open to any style. And I had never done ballet before, but when I saw it for the first time, I saw that and I was like, I can do that. I want to learn that. And then I saw all these other styles and I was like, that's cool. Like if I like it, if I'm inspired by it, I'm like, I can do that too. But I feel like many people, they might be inspired by something, but they don't genuinely believe that they can also do it or learn it, and that it can benefit them in their
There's
career.
also like a narcissistic element, sadly, in that they can't see themselves in the thing that they're watching. So this is super presumptuous, but I don't think a lot of dance is inspiring to a lot of people. I think you are blessed to have like the open mind to like see the beauty in a lot of different styles. But I don't think people would necessarily watch prelims or like battle rounds and be like, oh my god,
I'm inspired.
I'm blown away.
No one's inspired
I'm just
by
like that is okay. It's a shame because there's so many things to be exchanged across. But I think if people were, they might be a little bit more inclined to jump in.
And I feel also like, just to your point, and to kind of like, because I can feel the like you're genuine. Like
I've been thinking.
Yeah, I know, I can tell. But I feel like, so I used to like run a street dance cap program in Swindon, and it was like, I felt like the kids who were there like didn't really have a like passion for training, or they didn't really like want it, and in a sense it was like, okay, well, maybe we just have to try to make it better, or we just have to structure it like that, or we just have to try this and try that and blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, it was kind of like, it felt like no matter what was put in front of them, like nothing was really making them hungry, so it's like, I can't make you want this. In a sense.
Is it like their parents put them in it? Is that what it felt like?
I don't know, because like, to be fair, it is a really big like commitment and time investment. And like for me, it's not even about age, because I remember how I was at that age, and like, I would do a journey for like an hour, but then I would be like in front of the class, like sweating my ass off. And so I think it's like, in a sense, time has changed, and maybe people do want something different. Certain age groups also relate to things differently. I think our perception of like instant result versus like a long-term strategy has also, I think, like social media maybe, and just kind of our culture is becoming more and more like quick result oriented. So, you know, in a sense, it's like, well, I can't make you want to learn foundation if all you want to do is choreo. Like, then maybe I should just give you choreo, because at the end of the day, I just want you to like be excited about being here. You know what I mean? So all that to say that, like, not necessarily to say like I'm not saying don't concern yourself with like with that, but I feel like it can be a dangerous thing to want to like open people's eyes and to like want to convince people that that's the way that they should want, but instead, like, either, you know, depending on the kind of like venture or business that you're into, but I felt like creating the opportunity and the environment that you would want to be in, like, that's going to attract the kind of person that wants that. And then once you start building and other people start catching on to it, then like that's what attracts people more than trying to do a pitch of like, that's why you should want this and that's why this is right for you. And then, or if my second point would be then, you know, if it's a thing of like catering to what people want, then it's just like, okay, well, you know, you can kind of give people the format that they think they want and then sneakily like put
it's like
in,
teaching popping or something in a routine format. It's
Yeah,
you're learning the foundations, but in the way that you want to learn it.
Exactly. Like even from like sometime from a while ago, like when Firehouse did the sessions on Fridays, like they had choreo, like kind of choreo before, where, you know, it would be like, sometimes it was on kind of like real popping beats, but sometimes it was on like a Justin Bieber track or something like that. That's a bit more like appealing
accessible
to the wider kind of like a wider audience. So I think there's different ways to go about it, but I think like in terms of you can like conserving your energy, is that okay?
Conserving your energy.
It's like that if you kind of
gas out.
It is like, because, and I'm saying that because I've tried to do it and it just becomes so frustrating that at a point you're like,
you do
well,
have to
fuck
find a
everybody
balance.
then.
You can divert your energy into what you were saying, like attracting.
It's like, I wasn't
people.
even doing this for me, I was doing it for you,
and you didn't even want it. So like at the end of
That's
the
when it
day,
gets frustrating.
then like you didn't get what you want, and I've been here like running in butter, you know, like
Running in butter. You know?
very good running in butter.
but so it's like everyone's tired but nobody's happy. And
Can
that's,
I
yes, interject, say something.
Yeah, but it is to add. I'd say I'd be plugging it, but I'm not, because it's sold out. But what you said about the marrying of the two things, is this a like?
No, I'm just checking how long we've been going. Like, also, yes.
The deep dive thing that I'm doing, like with bringing teachers over, but it being like intensive learning, it's like, they're the teachers that you want and that you're all hyped about, but if I'm gonna do this for you, you're gonna do it this way.
100.
And because it's we're getting people message like, are they going to be doing any open classes? It's like, well, no, because that's kind of besides the point, because if I'm trying to encourage you to invest in learning at this level and then go, but you didn't reach out in time, so here's another 90-minute class, then that's really not the point. So
because you
just
also
won't get it.
trying to bring them a format that they haven't experienced. So if you also give them the option of the
then they'll never do what I think would be beneficial to them. How was Tribeways?
I didn't go.
Was Sophia there?
Yeah, so Sophia just
tried to segue and failed.
That was a good segue. Very abrupt, but I like it.
But that's how we like it here.
I haven't been here a while. I'm out of
just
practice.
mid-sentence. Like, so what I think is, how was Tribe? No, but I have to actually shout out to Sophia and Livan, because they went and did the first, it was maybe the first Capsule outing that I wasn't at, which was really nice to see. No, because I really trust Sophia. She's doing a fucking great job, and she's helping me with a lot of the behind the scenes Capsule stuff as well. If you don't follow her, go check out all.so.visuals. I've mentioned her before. She's going to be taking Jenny's chair over the next few weeks, I think, or some of them anyway. But yeah, she's doing a lot of the videography stuff. She's like, I don't like putting myself in the kind of mentor position, but I'm like helping her to learn a bit and get some
You're mentoring
opportunities.
her.
I knew. I was just.
You love it.
Like,
you love it.
I love
thought
to do
about
it, but I don't love to take credit for it. Like, she's the one doing all the hard work and doing it. I'm just
Helping her
Mentor.
giving
learn.
my opinion.
I'm
yeah.
just
You're
mentoring her.
It's like I'm just guiding her and helping her and giving her
Yeah.
advice and reviewing stuff and talking to her about everything.
So basically, I guess
Mentoring.
like,
I wish there was a word that summed all that up. No, but yeah, so she went to cover Sheldon's battle Tribeways. From the looks of it, it went dope. I think what the point that Sheldon was why he was trying to do the battle was for it to be a kind of more of a low-key training sort of vibe rather than like a big battle where you have to like super, show out and only the best people get through and blah, blah. It's like, all right, we're going to keep this low-key on purpose, which I think is good. We need all ends of the spectrum to have a kind of well-rounded scene. And so Sophia went and filmed all the battles. The battles are up on our YouTube channel. She did a fucking great job with that. And a guy called Levan, who he's tagged in the recap that we did. He made a recap. I think one of his first recaps that he's made.
Really good.
And he did a fucking great job. So that was cool. Shout out to both of them. Hopefully we can keep, expanding the capsule in this way where things can happen beyond me being behind the camera for all of it.
That's right.
I hope that's right. Yeah, so that was Tribeways. I don't really have too much.
Who won?
Can you add that button? I know that's right. You need to.
Yeah, true.
Next week.
Ice won and someone else won.
G-Man won.
Oh,
7
G-Man.
to
Yeah.
Smoke, I think.
Good old George. Yeah. So I don't really have too much of an opinion or a review on that event because I wasn't there. Sophia can't be here, but maybe next week we'll get an update. So does anyone have any news about any internet-based art, which I don't know, just stuff that could be like revolutionizing the scene? And I don't know, I wish there was someone here that could talk about some things where we could, like, I don't know if there's some way of taking art and like selling digital things that can't be reproduced or something like that, blockchain, something.
What is he talking
Do
about?
you know anything about this, Ali?
I know a little bit about it, but mostly because I've been taught about it by
who?
The coconut.
How long have you been there?
Guys, I'm
NFT man.
That was better.
Can I wait before we start this?
If I was good at like
segment.
Premiere or like a fucking After Effects, I would have him like fly in on a.
Oh,
Can I
very
ask
good.
something and you can say no? You can say no.
Yes.
I can hold out.
I already want to say yes, but go on.
Am I
wait.
able to go to the toilet?
Well, at least you wait
You can
until
say no.
your section to
You can
go.
say no. I
Yeah,
can
go. It's
We
fine.
can
like-
talk amongst
Real
ourselves.
Yeah,
quick.
because he would be like, and then the thing with NFT, and then you just see the couch.
I just can't focus. I'm
leaking.
sorry. Look, this went straight through me. I
Yeah.
knew.
No,
I
it's
should have
fine.
known better.
I feel you. If I have to pee,
You could have
there's-
moved to the mic.
No, I like this better.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny when I first started the pod.
Oh my god,
That is a tribute to Abe.
that made it. That is a tribute to Abe.
I feel like when I first started the pod, I was super like precious about. I was like, no, what? Like I was like, Jen would be in the other room, and I'm like, don't shut the door too loud, and now I'm like, leave the fucking windows open, go to the toilet. Who gives a shit?
the fan's on.
Yeah, exactly.
Can't hear the fan though, can you? Surely.
No.
Only me. Way. The fan.
Different type of fan. Bloody hell. Yeah.
Do you leave it until the end to say what's coming up, or?
Oh no, if
just
you've got
go-
stuff, let's do that
Yeah.
now.
like, isn't
Do you have anything? No.
Yeah, there's a firehouse.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
Firehouse Weekender. True.
I've never been.
Is it? I went last year. It was quite fun.
I think that this. I'm going to put a statement out there.
Oh.
I think this, based on last year was the first one. Oh,
The
give me a hot
first
take.
one
Go on,
at
give me a
the
hot take.
Scoop.
Yeah.
I think it wasn't. I don't know if it was the
sorry.
first time, but
No, but they did the whatchamacallit battle that they did before.
Didn't they do
Pop
one?
City?
At,
Pop
yeah, I was
City,
gonna say that
but they
at
haven't
Greenwich,
done-
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pop City is the winter one.
Yeah. So this Firehouse Weekender like this, I don't think they've done before last year.
Okay, so go on. Put your hot take.
I would say that in the UK, this event, based on if it continues like last year, is one of. If you're gonna get that close, kiss me with your sexy haircut and your new pierced ears.
Sexy haircut.
I would say it's one of the best battles to go to. If
Which one?
Firehouse.
Firehouse Weekender. Were you there last year?
I am so excited. I was not there last year.
I think it's one of the best battles in the UK, like battle
so excited.
circuit, to go to if you're new to battles. Yeah, I think it's like the especially if the weather's nice, it's like outdoors, a really accessible location.
Oh, I know where it is.
By,
Now.
by the
It's
Tower
been
Bridge.
a year already.
Near Tower Bridge. Yeah.
It's in it's called the Scoop, and it's this like almost like
Amphitheatre. Kind of thing.
amphitheater vibe with a like
Where
nice
people go to
stage.
watch Wimbledon. Like a couple weeks ago,
Oh,
there
yeah?
were people watching the Wimbledon like tennis, and I was like, "There's gonna be a street dance battle here,
and it's gonna be fun. And like the way the seating is super comfortable. There's a bar at the back. There's like food and stuff around. You've got it sounds good. Like the especially outdoor and like site specific battles. Sometimes the setup of like the PA system and stuff is trash, but it sounds good. It looks good. You can see kind of from everywhere. The stage is like spacious. It's pretty good in terms of like how quickly they ran stuff last year. It wasn't like it wasn't rushed, but it also wasn't too boring.
It was well paced.
They got sponsorship.
I don't know. I think it's funded from certain places. I believe. Well, I know for a fact Emily Labhart was producing last year.
Okay.
She is fantastic. If you don't know Emily, I would assume she's doing it again this year, and she does a fantastic job producing.
It's incredible.
I think it's supported by Team London Bridge City, Summer by the River.
Yeah.
So I think it's the Council of Southwark.
Right.
I think from when I spoke to Emily, it's like a few different
Yeah.
things that come together.
Amazing.
But yeah, there's gonna be performances. Afro
Yeah.
Queens, Kaner, Silk,
Yeah.
Luke's favorite
There's our Silk mention of the episode.
of the week.
Sick.
Youth showcases. There's also, I believe, workshops, battles, youth battles, adult battles, social dance jam.
And it was actually quite
Busy.
if one could say lit last year, at the end of it, where it was like after all the battles were done, and then it was just like there's a certain cut-off time. That's the only negative thing is like you can't party till late. It's like
It's like 10 p.m. I think.
so
That's not too bad.
That's
no,
my
it finishes,
bedtime.
especially when it finishes at like 7 or 8 or something like that, and you have like a couple
Yes.
hours. But it is a bit like I would just jam it, because last time it was like warm. You were like
Yeah.
outdoors. There's a bar that's open. If that stayed open and in that little
Yes,
spot, it would
yes.
be sick. But yeah, I think for me, it's like if you're ever gonna go with someone that's not a battler, like you want to bring your mum or a fucking cousin or something that is in town or whatever, this is the one to bring
Nice.
people to. I wouldn't say that about every battle, because some of them are fucking uncomfortable. They're not built for the general
They
audience.
smell like game
Like
shops.
shit. Game shops.
And
That's
it's
a
like
great
it's
one.
like, hey mom, want to come sit on the floor for 7
That's
hours?
it. I mean, this is actually
She's like, no, I'll pass.
And
thank you."
no re-entry, so no, you won't be eating.
Yeah.
this is actually one of the biggest issues that I saw. So I've been taking a lot more battles this year, attending and taking and battling, etc. And
He had his first traumatic experience in a cypher prelim.
Oh, I don't know about this.
Let's not even.
What battle at least?
Let's not
Unleash the
even.
Groove.
No,
I
I
bitched about it last week.
I've done Cypher prelims before, but this one was just
Horrendous.
like, yeah.
I mean, that's usually how
I
it
wa-
goes
I
in
was
cypher
ju-
prelims. They usually suck.
I was just like, are we doing this, guys? Are we doing
Oh,
this?
Cypher
horrend-
prelim. Got
It was
you.
like
I was just like, what are you guys doing? Like,
just everyone jumping in 5 people at a time. It's just a mess. I don't like cypher prelims.
and after 2/8, someone else would walk in. Like, can you let them
Just let me do a
dance?
round.
Like, I don't know.
I mean, it was a great event. Just to say that, great event. That was the only bit I didn't like, was the cypher prelims. Anyway, continue. You've been taking.
So I've been going to loads of battles, and I think that's one thing I realized. One of the things I realized this year, that it's not very welcoming to newer battlers who want to enter the scene, and maybe like people are friendly, but it's not very
The
beginner
format of
friendly.
it.
Yeah. And also, like, if we want the battle scene to grow and for more people to come to battles and support the ecosystem that these battle events create, it has to be accessible to further than just those battling and their friends. Not even their friends come watch, because like you said, who wants to sit down for 8 hours, like cross-legged? And, you know, and I understand that, you know, it takes money to hire a theater or like seated venues. I truly understand that. But, you know, I don't think events are thinking that way. Like, okay, how can we get like my uncle to come and have a good time?
Most, and I said this last week, but like or the week before. Yeah,
Or maybe you say it every week.
I was going to say you might have said it multiple times.
that's true. But most event organizers don't know what the fuck they're doing, and they're not event organizers. They're just some dude who or some lady who runs a thing. Oh, hat, and a little bit of hat.
That timing.
Take.
I mean, it is the truth. It is the truth. I mean,
Yeah, it's just some people, and it's like
said with love, but
me said with less love. Like
Said with
I tried to like give you some.
it's fine. I bitch about organisers all the time, but the thing is, it's like it's a serious responsibility in the same way that like Renegade is having an all-out war against like judging and people not taking judging seriously. I think this is also about organisers. It's like,
That's your all-out war.
well, no, because I'm not committed to the war. That's why I don't do it. In the same way, if you're not committed to events, you shouldn't do them.
Okay.
But there was a time when there were no events happening in the UK, like when there was like 2 events per year, and that was when I first started. So in that time, we kind of needed just anyone to step up and take the responsibility. Now there's so much happening. It's like we don't need extra events. We need good events.
So when are you producing an event?
Oh well. You'll
Glad
have,
you
to,
asked.
you'll
Hold
have to
tight.
tune in and
it'll definitely happen.
no, I do want to do that, but this is the thing. What I'm saying, I'm trying to lead by example. I'm only doing it when I'm in the right place to do it and to do it well. But yeah, I mean, talking about event organizers, do you know about any events that are coming up that are really? We'll try
Okay,
this.
let's talk about
We'll
it.
try this again.
Yeah.
Any events that are coming that are like maybe really unique?
Maybe on it.
Revolutionary.
Maybe on
Game
internet.
changing.
And then Dylan's like, "Oh yeah, hello, I gotta go."
Yes, I'm doing something.
There we go.
It's you are the revolutionary
Oh, yeah.
game
I mean,
changer.
okay,
I didn't
So
even know that. Wow.
I appreciate the hype.
Yeah, I like the intro, but
But I've learned a lot in my life, and I've learned to say it is incredible. It is incredible. Like it is amazing, and it is.
I am fantastic.
Like it is very special what I'm doing. But I've just
You've been humbled by the I
By
know
life.
by the
I've just
by
learned-
the downturn.
I've just learned to manage my expectations. Like there's been a couple times these past few years where like I feel like I had something and I was like, there's no way this can't work. I'm like, I've got everything done to a T. Like
Yeah.
I've thought about everything and it's perfect. It's the one. It's the thing.
Chef's kiss.
And then it just didn't happen the way that I thought it would, and that's okay because when that happens, I just focus on the lesson and then I move
Had
on.
a few relationships like that.
But
Now I need
very,
to pee.
Oh my god.
You made me need to
do you
pee
wanna
by,
go? You
wanna go?
by making it a
We can-
possibility.
we can talk about
yeah,
it.
you carry on. Tally, I hand you the metaphorical hosting mic.
Great.
okay. Yeah.
So to be clear,
Mm.
the lessons that you're speaking
Oh,
of
yeah.
are in the
No.
blockchain
No. In
crypto
life.
space.
In-
okay.
Like there were many business ventures that I, started that I put so much like time, money and effort into, but they ended up just not being sustainable and not creating. Oh, that's okay. But the thing is,
okay. I do know the details.
yeah, a lot of like business owners, that is the way it is. You have a lot of startups and a lot of ideas that don't work, and then
Yes.
you might have your jackpot idea.
And I think knowing you the way that I do, because when you do things like you do them, it's not like let's dip a toe and like do this beta version and see. You're doing like it as you see it in its full picture. So when that doesn't work out, like that is going to be humbling.
But also,
thing.
I think there's so many things that goes into like creating something successful. Where sometimes it's like the quality of the idea and the execution is there, but maybe sometimes there's like an external factor of
Yes.
like
Out of your control. kind of
like
thing.
maybe you were gonna go on an international tour and then it's like there's a war in Russia and like you can't fly there. Like sometimes there's just these things that happen, but I think in the end, like you said, I know you seem like quite a resilient person, but that I feel like, you know, whenever you hear stories of like successful artists or successful entrepreneurs or whatever, that, you know, it's like, oh yeah, Bruno Mars slept in his car for 3 years before he ever even sold a song. And it's like, oh, but now he made it and life is so good. But when he was living in his fucking car for 3 years, do you think he was having a good time?
Yeah.
Like, you know, I think the road there.
Yeah. For sure. It's not going to be smooth. And one thing that I am very grateful for is that, like, I never, with my business ventures that didn't go according to plan, it wasn't so much about the money. Like, a lot of entrepreneurs, they have ideas and they have startups for the sake of building an amazing return.
Yeah.
And while that would have been nice, and while, yes, I was thinking about the business aspects of it, because that is important too, and I feel like I have a naturally entrepreneurial mindset. I was more prioritizing like what I was actually doing with the business and what I wanted to achieve with the community, and with creating something cool, like creating something like special and cool, and something that like me and the people involved are like really proud of, and it makes a positive change in that sector of what I'm trying to do. But yeah.
So what's the special cool thing that you've got coming up, Dylan?
Okay.
Yeah, tell us about it.
So, long story short,
well, we kind of ruined this surprise last week, didn't we?
Oh, that's okay. I'm here to talk about it now. So I'm joking.
I'll take care of it.
Dylan listened to the episode and was like, guys, I'm coming. No. You fucking ruined that.
No, it was amazing. You guys did an amazing job, and you guys...
Me fishing for compliments?
No,
yep.
you guys did great. But yeah, I'm here now. So, no, I'm joking. No, you guys are sick. So yeah, last year, February 2021, I got into NFTs, and it was extremely early at the time. And a month later, I sold my first dance NFT. And what's an NFT is, it's just it's a digital file that is coded. I'm trying to use words that like maybe you might understand. That I didn't mean to sound like hella, yeah,
No, I'm joking.
hella patronizing. Digital files that are coded on the blockchain, which is a decentralized and immutable technology. Decentralized meaning nobody owns or controls it, and immutable meaning that once something is put on the blockchain, which is this technology, nobody has the power to change or edit it because it's decentralized and nobody owns it. So by putting a dance video on the blockchain, we now have the technology and the possibility of being able to prove that a digital file is unique, is the one, and we are able to prove who owns this digital file because of the technology. So never in the history of the internet have we been able to say, I own this digital file. It has never been possible. And it's it's similar with in real life. We could make a contract between each other. We can both sign the contract. I now own this house. You've signed the contract. Now we have found a way to do that digitally, and it works because of this new technology. And last year I've been testing stuff, and I've sold some dance NFTs last year. And now I have this idea to create a live show where every performance is filmed and minted on the blockchain, and every performance will be sold as digital art, because that's what this world, that's what this world is flourishing into, the world of fine digital art, digital fine art, right? The same way the physical art world has been around for hundreds of years, and it's very prominent in the art communities, right? And now we are beginning a new industry, which is the digital art world. And it's going to be bigger than we can imagine, because everyone can take everyone can get involved. Everyone can take part because we are using this, what we like to call magical internet money that we all have access to around the world, depending on your country's regulations, of course. But the thing is, if you lived in Brazil and I wanted to buy art from you, you had your art set in real, which is the British currency. The Brazilian currency. And you would have priced it based on your country's economic value of art.
Yeah.
And if I wanted to buy that off you online, well, there would be some sort of transfer method where I would pay in pounds, it would convert to real, and you would receive in real. But we're using two different currencies that are connected to the economies of our countries, right? But here's the special thing. Now that we're using Ethereum, Ether is the currency that we're using because we are minting on the Ethereum blockchain. Now that we're using Ether, we are going off of Ether's economy. And that economy, because America's dominating, we're going off of America's economy, basically.
Right.
So we're seeing digital artists from countries like Brazil, from countries in Africa, from countries in Philippines, from countries that, you know, maybe the economy of the country is nowhere near that of America, but
they're getting paid as if they're in America.
You know what I mean?
And democratized it all.
Yeah, and that's a game changer. So every performance will be minted on the blockchain and sold as digital fine art, and you know, this is another way to monetize our art. Yeah.
Are you doing one of ones or like?
I think we're going for one of ones. I think we will be going for one of ones. I am considering editions. So one of ones means that it will just be one NFT and someone can only buy this one. Editions means that I could make 10 digital copies. So there will only be 10 of this video. And it could be 10 owners. It could be 5 owners owning 2.
Generally cheaper to buy.
Yes. So imagine like I could sell one for $10,000 or 10 for $1,000, making it more accessible for people to buy. However, scaling back the scarcity and the rarity of it.
And is it the same amount? Like, are the minting costs the same? So it would cost 10 times as much for you to do if you did editions?
I do not believe so. No, I think it would cost the same because it's a...
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So because you're minting, like with one of ones, it's something called an ERC 721 token, and that's like that's a contract that you're using, and then a multi edition you're doing another Ethereum contract which is called 1155, and
obviously,
when you use that,
of course it is.
In my head is like, have you seen the thing in The Simpsons where the monkey is like clapping the thing? This is in my head right now. I'm like, huh?
Yeah, when you're using that, it's a completely different minting method that would, I guess, mint 10
Got it.
For the same price. It's a different contract.
Interesting.
Yeah. It could work. It couldn't. It might not work. But I feel like this venture makes a lot of sense, and it's actually more low risk than you think, because the show itself, if I was to just do a show, like, it could work and we'd have a great time, we'd have a great show. But now we have this, the show's finished, but now we can, like, you know, can you just imagine if we do pull this off and the digital artworks do sell, and let's say even if they sell for not a lot of money in this, like, I know this is a lot of money what I'm about to say, but let's say they sell for £2,000 to £5,000 each performance.
Which you think is fairly realistic?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Let's say that, right? Even £2,000 to £5,000, like, that will, next time people come see this show, they are watching. There's just another edge to it, and they will start to, because now you've slapped some more value on our art form. I think, I feel like they could be looking at it in a different in a different light.
Yeah, it's almost like going to watch a painting being created live, knowing that there's going to be an auction afterwards where it gets sold. You know what I mean? So you get to sit and watch the painters as they create the thing that you then are going to see being sold for 10 grand or whatever.
Yeah, but it's very tricky because last year I did really, really, really well with selling dance NFTs. Like, it was just fucking nuts.
Like, how well?
Like,
yeah,
like
because anyone can obviously go on the Foundation app or whatever and see how much.
Yeah.
Like, are you okay? Because you're
yeah,
saying about 2,000 to 5,000 for these.
Yeah.
Like, just for context, how much did your first NFTs sell for?
So my
Throw them numbers around.
my very, very, very first NFT was just me doing an alpha with no music, and that sold for like £300.
Okay.
And then when I started to do NFTs with music, I would start at like, I think I would start at like 3,000, £2,000 to £3,000, like starting bid. And then my first few ones had like a little bidding war because I was one of the first dancers. And at that time, there was a lot of eyes on the NFT art community, and people were like, oh my God, this is new. This is new. Like, first time of this, first time of that, blah, blah, blah. And they were like heavily investing in that because it was just so much novelty. And, you know, in the crypto and NFT space, you've seen so many success stories of people being the first to do something. So that, right? I do also think what I was doing was cool. But anyway, so the first few ones sold for, it was like, $3,000 to $5,000 like dollars, which is just fucking like, and at the time I was really struggling financially as well. And it was incredible. And then like a couple months later, like I had two artworks sell for $10,000. And I was just like, I looked at that and I was like, someone is bidding like 5 digits for dance right now. Like, it was just really crazy. And then another crazy thing that happened was someone bought one of my dance NFTs for $3,000. And then that person
Sold it.
resold that one that they bought for $10,000. And I had royalties.
Residual,
Like, I had royalties. So that was like mind blowing as well. However, I will say, like, I do value my art and I do think it's good. However, this year I've sold none and I've been putting really good stuff out. And I think there's a couple reasons. I think last year people were viewing my art as investments and, you know, they were thinking long term and thinking, oh, like, this is cool. He's the first to do it. Like, this is cool. This year, the market fluctuations and the crypto market and the volatility, and it's crashed a bit, and people stopped buying one art a bit less, and they kind of got over the hype a little bit, and maybe it's not so new, but I do think it will pick up again. It's just so new, and I envision one day, like maybe 5 to 10 years, that one day we will have an application like the same way right now we have artists that they can do their online shops and they can sell portraits of their art prints, and people buy them. Like, their friends and family support them and they buy because their art is beautiful. It's a digital print. Oh, I could hang it up like on my wall. And I do envision, like, in 10 years time, it will be very normal for a dancer to maybe host a website where they're selling digital prints of their dance videos. And by that time, we will also have more infrastructures in place to be able to show off these NFTs, digital property, digital houses, where the same way we're using Instagram now, we could be using an application where we're hanging out in digital houses, where we pimp out the walls of our digital houses, and we show off our NFTs. This sounds crazy right now.
No,
but the next, you have to think the new generation is growing up on this stuff. Like, they're the ones who are growing up on Fortnite and Minecraft, and you know, all
that's why they're not learning Foundation.
And that explains why they don't want to
laying bricks in the metaverse.
Yeah. So I do envision, and I just think, like, I'm more of a, like, I focus on what issues the dance industry and scene and community and every scene has. I focus on the issues and I say, okay, well, what can we do about it? Like, I don't just complain. I'm like, okay, well, what can we actually do about it? You know,
That's
and
why I love you.
And there's so many answers. Oh my God, like we can actually do something about it.
Yeah.
But
I don't think it's crazy even to the idea, because it's like, imagine if the only things you could, like, let's say, share on your Instagram or in your Instagram story was stuff that you owned, like that you'd pay money for. Then it's like, in a way, your Instagram kind of has more higher value, because it's like, oh, let me go check out the things that you own, or let me go as if I'm going to shop on your Instagram or whatever. So I think, like, even for me, just as a outsider, layman kind of person, like, I'd be more tempted to care about NFTs and stuff like that if there was somewhere where I could go to, like, you know what I mean, like to have a social media app that was like, oh, these are all like everyone's NFTs, and let me go watch the video that like is only posted on one platform. You know, like even now it's like there's a good video and then it gets shared around loads of different accounts. It's like if you could only ever see it on one place because they've paid to keep it there or whatever, because they own that thing and that's the only place, then it's like I'm a bit more invested in how, I think this is maybe a lot of people from my thing is like, I understand kind of vaguely like what it is, but it's like, okay, how is this going to fit into my life, or what's the use of it in my day to day? And when that starts to become more clear, it's like when I first heard about Facebook, it wasn't part of my day, or MySpace.
That's
even.
it. Yeah.
It wasn't part of my day to day. Like I didn't go to my phone all the time. Like it didn't have those applications. So I had to log onto the computer. It didn't have all the updates and all the news and all the new shit. So I was like, yeah, I'll go on like maybe once or twice a week to check the thing, but I'm not every day like I am with Instagram, because now it's a part of my life. I hear about events, I keep in touch with my friends, like everything is like embedded into like social media. So I think once that either starts being embedded in social media, or like the metaverse and those type of things, where that becomes the new normal, once that becomes in the everyday.
Yeah, but it's even internet, you know, that we never,
True.
like before internet came, people could never imagine how internet was going to change.
It sounds very foreign when you say internet. Like I always say the internet, but you say when
internet.
Does that not
the
sound?
internet?
I don't know.
The World Wide Web.
No, but it makes sense what you're saying.
Yeah, that like, you know, before it's there, you can't even imagine what like
they'd be shocked if they saw
Yeah.
today.
in how many different aspects is gonna affect like your love life, your dating life.
It used to be a weird thing to meet someone online.
Yeah,
now it's like normal.
Yeah, where you decide to go eat, you know, what movie you're gonna see, what information you get. So it's like, you know, I think in a sense, probably if you had told our grandparents, like it would be so weird to them. So I guess
I'm gonna order a meal and someone's gonna bring it to me.
Yeah.
Now it would be like, I find it weird to actually call up the restaurant. My mum does that sometimes. She'll call the Chinese place and order, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like
what is this, 1984?
Yeah. She's like, oh, get the flyer and choose what you want, and I'll call them. And I'm like, how old are you? Like,
but
we still do that.
do you?
Yeah.
But do you do it when you're by yourself?
No.
Oh, it's like a family thing.
but all that, or even going to the, like thinking that we used to go to the store to rent movies.
Yeah, that's what
Loved
blockbusters.
Yeah.
So
on Friday
that was
night.
sick. I like that.
That you were gonna choose one movie for the whole weekend. You know which one was it gonna be?
I like
But
that.
Netflix should do a pop-up where they just like
Yeah.
put all their things. You can't even take them away, but you can just like go with someone and just like
choose. Yeah.
But isn't it crazy?
I mean,
even
Netflix
that's how
might have to at this point.
that's how
Yeah, they are
Netflix
dying.
like started,
Yes.
that they delivered it to
Yes.
people's house,
Yeah.
the physical DVD.
Yeah.
But what was I saying? So yeah, saying that this is like Web 3.0. So it's like the new version of internet where like
It is. It's the next level
Internet.
up. Like,
You hear it though? Sounds a bit foreign.
well, I am
version-
foreign.
It's the new version of internet.
Why don't you suck my internet?
I like to go on internet.
Listen, bro. Listen, Bruno.
Bruno, did you hear that word?
I did, yeah.
Or did you just randomly
I don't
call
know who
someone?
it is, but
No one knows who it is.
Oh, right. Okay.
So
He just
to clarify what happened that time, I meant to say bro, and I don't know why,
Okay.
but Bruno came out of my mouth.
But it's
Fair
the fact
enough.
that you said it twice. You went Bruno. Bruno is like you tried to stop it and it came again.
Yeah, but anyways, that's besides the point.
Yeah.
That
English is a second language. Continue.
yes, that I think that, you know, in a sense, and I feel like it is scary in a sense because it's so unknown, or it
Everything is at the beginning.
feels
isn't it?
like it feels really foreign. Like one of my questions is kind of like, who is buying this? You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Like the ones that
This
you
is-
sold, who-
This is a really good question actually, because this is one of the issues with the dance scene, let's talk about the street dance scene, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the one where we're mostly on. I'm fine.
Okay.
Are you fine? You want to stop soon?
No. I
What's the
thought you
time
had to
cap?
go.
Oh, I'm good. I like you guys.
Oh,
No,
alright.
joking. Yeah, we're
An hour
good.
and a half.
We're all right.
Oh, okay.
One of the issues in the street dance scene is that we're kind of a bubble, and it's been quite hard to get monetization from outside of this bubble, and to have our culture transcend this bubble and appeal to the normies, as we like to call them, right?
Sure.
You know,
Muggles.
The muggles,
Yeah.
civilians.
there's dancers and then there's
Peasants.
normal people. We say
Yeah.
it. We say it like, oh, my normal friends or whatever,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, people outside of our bubble.
Yeah, and because there's not a lot of money and like solid infrastructure within our industry, I'm talking like Disney Nike level infrastructure. We don't have that yet, and so someone will eventually crack the code where we can scale street dance to that of UFC, NBA, Nike, etc. Right? It will happen. It will happen. But this is why this was so epic, because I'm not selling to dancers. Like, I'm selling to normal people who have never taken a dance class before. Maybe they're wealthy. Maybe they love art. Maybe they want to invest. Doesn't
Do you
matter.
know who they like? Do you know their like real name, where they're from? Like, do you get that kind of data?
So, for some of them, there's two. I've sold 10 dance NFTs, and 2 of them were anonymous, which that's cool. But the others, I've connected with them through Twitter, and we'll just kind of stay connected. But I think they are just, you know, like random NFT collectors within the Web3 community, and people who share a similar vision to what I do. Like, we're all passionate about Web3 and the future of NFTs, and that's why that's one of the things that made me obsessed at first, because I was like, this is not like the dance bubble, and I found like and we are passionate. We all share the same passion on technology, on art, on culture, on community, but we're all from like,
Different.
I've made so many friends who are coders, who are like tech nerds, who are deep into the finance world, and I love that, because, you know, we have to transcend the street dance bubble. Like, we're gonna need help from the tech nerds, from the finance nerds, from the branding nerds to transcend.
Let's call them geniuses instead.
But nerds is good.
Let's have that
nerds
one.
is good. Geniuses, yes. You know what I mean. But
I know,
The
I'm
tech
just joking.
losers.
We're gonna need them. So
yeah.
we're gonna use them.
Yeah.
No, you guys know what I mean.
No, I'm just joking. But that's really interesting, because like, do you think that the people who are buying dance NFTs are just generally buying kind of like different kind of art forms NFTs? They're just interested in different things more than like a dance like someone who's exclusively buying dance NFTs?
I would assume it's not at that point yet, where there's people who are just dance NFT collectors. They're
We're not there yet.
dance. They're general NFT collectors, and they're just looking for the new stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
I think is it I might be talking shit, but I feel like, is it Royal Ballet that sold their first NFT
Did they sell?
or created? I
Yeah.
don't know
They
if
create
they
one, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they
Weren't
created one.
AMCK doing it too? Did
Yeah,
they do it?
they're doing it. Yeah, they're tapping into it. Like, they know you know a lot. They know a lot about it. And they created like kind of like a NFT membership. And they created NFTs from some of the dancers on their books, and I think they will be doing like bigger stuff, which is like, I've spoken to Aisha about it, and it's
Good.
mega. It's mega. Yeah. But yeah, man.
Sick. When's the show?
19th of October at Fairfield Halls. You can
Let's
book tickets
go.
at fairfield.co.uk, and
Sick.
yeah.
And what do you think is like? Do you have kind of a you know, maybe this is, you don't want to answer this question, but like kind of, okay, now you have this idea of you're going to create a show that people are going to attend live. It's going to be filmed. Each piece is going to be minted and hopefully sold as an NFT. So is this like your 1.0 version of the idea? And is it like in your head,
what's the scale?
You're thinking like, okay, so if this works, then I want to do like the next thing.
I already have the next 10 steps planned, but like it's kind of
Should've
in the background
before I asked the question.
Like yeah, it's kind of in the background. Like I've learned that you can't plan too far ahead, and it's better to focus most of your attention in the current step and the next step, and then see how that goes, because most of the time plans change anyway. But eventually what I do envision is to have a weekly a yearly one in London. I would like to do one in LA.
Yeah,
for
who
sure.
would do something every week and commit to that? Yeah.
Yeah, LA and London, absolutely. New York as well, because I've been going to an NFT event in New York. I eventually want to have like an art gallery where we can display these NFTs. If we're thinking
physical,
like if we're thinking like mega, imagine having a dance NFT museum in London. Like I was speaking to my friend Aiden from New York. He also has an NFT company called Earthbound, and he's also doing dance NFTs like in New York. And we kind of share the same vision, and we kind of like, we just get it. And we were talking, and he was like, dude, like imagine like a dance NFT museum. And it's possible. It's really possible.
But wouldn't that almost make more sense to make it like a digital gallery?
Yes, but the thing is, like, we are still living in the physical world, and I think there is just something about going somewhere physically with someone and viewing it, because this is the thing, like, when you see a dance video on the wall, it becomes real. Like, it becomes, you can imagine it, and there are technologies and companies that are building NFT physical displays. So
isn't that just a screen?
Yes.
Okay.
But the thing is, you'll be able to you'll be able to verify it. Like there'll be like a blockchain verification, something like that.
So you could look at it and be like, oh, this is a fake, this is a real, even though they're both on screens and they're both the thing. You don't have to like
they have like
you could potentially like put your phone up to it and be like, oh, that's not a real one.
I think the point with the NFT screens is that you can only display NFTs on it, whereas like a screen, you can display a YouTube video on it. So like
only things that are verified on the blockchain will play.
Yes. So this screen will probably only work with blockchain technology. Like you cannot put any other content.
Fancy.
Yeah. So
and it can only be the stuff that you own. Or anything that's
on the blockchain that exists on this platform.
Because what happens if you owned an NFT and I just bought a screen and played yours in my gallery? You know
I don't know the details of that, but I can imagine that it's what you own.
You'd have to like put in a code or some shit.
But I guess also because that's the kind of thing behind the technology, because everything is like unique and not and immutable. It's like, then to have the permission to use it, you would need to have that information. You would need to have access to that file, and I guess in order to have access to that file, you would need.
It's almost like, I guess, playing let's say if we have a normal screen now, but to play videos that are on your private YouTube account, like you'd have to log into your YouTube account to be able to play those.
Yeah,
but you couldn't log into my YouTube account to play them on your.
Or
screen.
even it might be like kind of a hardware software thing, but it's like, right, if you have a PlayStation, you can only play PlayStation games on it. You can't play things that are like Xbox or blah blah. So it's like not compatible.
Like hypothetically speaking, let's say a company called Zip, they create an NFT screen, and everyone in the world knows about Zip like we know Sony TV screens. And when you walk into someone's house, they're like, you'll be like, oh, you have a Zip, which is the point of this is to display NFTs you own.
Yeah.
So that means that anything I see on your Zip, I know that you own. And so if there's a dance video playing on your Zip, I'm like, this is dope. Like, you own this? Yes, it's a Zip. This is my Zip profile.
It's kind of like it's kind of like, I guess a wallet, you know.
Yeah.
Like
a wallet
not
on
a
your
wallet,
wall.
but it's like it holds your cards. So
Yeah, I'm not sure if the way I explained it is exactly how it works, but I'm giving an example of the possibilities, because right now, like you said, why would anyone? Let's be real. I think this too. Why would anyone pay 10,000 for my dance NFT right now? Like, what can
unless
they
you
actually
believe
do?
in the future of
Like,
it? If you're just
what
living
can
in the
they
moment.
actually do with it right now? Not much. The truth is, not much. It's in their wallet. They can show off to the people in the Web3 space. There's not that many people in the Web3 space right now. They can show off to the online galleries that are available now. There's not that many. And the world does not care about NFTs. That's the truth. So right now, no.
But it's also like the people that bought the Uber app at the beginning. It's like, why would you buy that? Nobody uses Uber. It's like, yeah, but we're thinking ahead. But I get, I get why the normal person.
Can you imagine pitching Uber when it first, like before? Uber would sound fucking nuts if someone told me before it came out. I'd be like,
everything sounds nuts.
Or Airbnb.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Those, yeah. It's true.
Oh my God.
Do you reckon we have time for one last topic? What time do you have to get out of here? Soonish?
20 minutes?
20 minutes. Do you reckon we can whiz through the last one?
I don't know. What's the last one?
Oh, that one.
Last one. 20 minutes? We can give it a
give it a whirl.
I'm down. I like talking to
Give
you
it a
guys.
once over. It's a bit more of a serious one, so we'll see what we can get through in 10 minutes. But if we don't do it justice, don't blame us. Blame Dylan, because he has to leave.
Yeah, it's a bit of a touchy one, isn't it? I'm surprised we want to do it.
Should we not?
Half an hour. I can do half an hour.
Oh no, Dylan.
We can do it.
He needs to be contained.
I also need to go, so
When
20
you need to
minutes
go?
is fine.
I also need to go.
Okay, so
I've had a banana, like I'm not going to be making sense for much longer.
You know what? We'll leave this topic for another week.
Oh, no, I'm curious.
Tease.
No, come
let's do
on.
it. 20 minutes.
But make
No,
it.
we're good,
We
we're
make
good.
it snappy.
We're
All
good.
right.
All right. Let's give our initial thoughts, and then we can maybe delve deeper into it another week. So the topic is, well, there's kind of two in one, but IBE and a couple of other competitions worldwide put a ban on Russian and Belarusian citizens competing in their event. Now, the most recent development is that IBE, I think today, when did I send it to you? Yesterday, announced that now Russian and Belarusian citizens will be able to enter IBE, but not under their own flag, right? Which I guess because some competitions will have like, your name and then your country underneath. So I don't even know that IBE do that. Maybe they do. But they won't put that flag, right? There was a big like conversation in all the comments on all the posts I've seen.
Backlash.
Well, backlash and then backlash to the backlash.
Yeah.
So it's like half the people were like, "Oh, this is amazing, thank you so much," and then half the people were like, "This is bullshit," blah 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 blah. So I'm admittedly very uneducated in like politics and all this, especially like the war, and it's just not something that I have a deep knowledge of. I understand on the wider scale why, let's say I was watching a video about how Russia supplies a lot of the petrol to certain countries and how Germany relies heavily on Russian gas and petrol, I think. So it's very hard for them to boycott Russia's petrol thing because they...
Isn't IB Dutch?
No, I know. I'm just.
Oh, okay.
I was going to
Before
ask.
you continue, can I just clarify something?
Yes.
Are these events, because I saw Summer Dance Forever, they said that Russians can't enter, but that's because their country are not allowing Russians in. So
this is not
this
about
is the
that.
choice of the event.
Yeah.
So the event said,
Yes.
we don't want Russians in our event, but you
can't enter.
But they are allowed in their country.
Yeah, they are.
As far as I know,
Okay, you can carry on.
Well, they are now. So.
Well, that's also something to touch on in a second. But basically, my point was that, like, say for example, Germany can't boycott really like Russian. I think it's either like gas or oil or something, because it's like 90% of their infrastructure comes from there. It's a whole thing, right? Google it on Vox or something because they explain it way better. For other like wider, for different countries and stuff, we can boycott some of the trade, and I think that's a lot of how England and America are weighing in on this war,
Right.
is by the financial and the kind of trade things that they
Right.
can put pressure on Russia without having to directly
Send
go into
troops
conflicts.
or-
Exactly.
yeah.
So they're putting all these bans, or they're not trading with them to put pressure on them to stop. So in that way, I think that's why this approach is being taken. Now, whether or not that makes a difference on a cultural smaller level, and whether or not, the question also is whether or not it's fair on the Russian and Belarusian citizens who don't support the war. Because if you flip it, and this is a whole nuanced thing where I can't even like really back up my own point because I'm not that educated, but I'm like, you know, all the times that like America invaded places that we as a world didn't really agree with, nobody banned America from things or blamed even the American citizens. Nobody was saying let's not listen to Drake because, well, no, because Canada didn't do shit, but like let's not listen to someone American because we
hate Trump,
Beyonce,
and because they're building a wall.
Nobody would give up Beyonce.
Exactly.
Yeah, so, they're building a wall.
Yeah, don't listen to Beyonce. So then it's just like, it's weird in the sense of why is this now? This is the first time I remember this ever happening. Also, when I was younger, I wasn't, you know, tuned into like cultural events, but I don't remember this happening on this type of level for you know, in any other conflicts in the past. So why is it now that, you know, those, like, imagine you're just someone living in Russia and you're like, I don't fucking want this war. I don't agree with it. Like, I can't afford to move out of the country, blah, blah, blah. And yes, of course there are, which is the back and forth is like, of course there are Russian citizens who support the war. There are Russian citizens who are participating in the war. So cool, but they're not all of them, I would assume. So to ban all of them is like, huh? Like, and does that put enough, like, does something as small as like a dance battle put enough pressure on the Russian government? I don't know, because this is the whole thing with the,
I doubt it,
with the oligarchs and stuff. So I don't know. I can't.
Been doing your research.
Like, I don't understand it well enough, but it's like, I understand this maybe as much as I understand NFTs. So that'll put it into perspective. But like, say with the oligarchs, like a lot of them were getting their assets seized and stuff. They were like taking, like America was saying like, this yacht is docked in America, it's ours now. Right. Or like just seizing their money and making a Roman Abramovich, I think, like the guy that owns Chelsea. He got some shit snatched and he got some assets frozen, so he couldn't, I think they couldn't buy players or something like that, the club.
So it's like they're putting pressure on the oligarchs, so the oligarchs put pressure on the government.
And there's something about the way that this is the part I don't know. There's something about the way that Putin was put in power which came from the oligarchs, so they had a hand in getting him in power, so they are even more like connected to him, I guess. The average
there are many b-boy oligarchs out there.
Yeah, that exactly.
B-boy oligarch, very good.
Yeah.
B-boligarch, no.
Boligarch.
Yeah, anyway. So, yeah, I don't know, again, all the details. Maybe there's a huge part that I'm missing, and that's why this doesn't make sense to me. But I maybe understand what IBE have said now, where they've said, you know, if you're entering and you're Russian, we're not going to fly the Russian flag and be like, but go Russia.
So, like, if every other country gets a flag flown, and then you're going to know where they're from anyway. So,
yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
But it's maybe more of a like, that's more of
celebration,
a protest thing. Because I think, you know, you have that sometimes in the Olympics where people can enter under
independently. Yeah,
they don't enter under a flag. I mean, maybe that's not from the, I would be interested about the Olympics, because even the one that was held in Germany, a lot of people boycotted that, but that's different because it's held, like, I get people boycotting an event that was held in Russia because they're not going, you know what I mean?
I have so many thoughts.
Yeah, go on.
Okay, so my first thought is, I think it's like you said, you know, I think that there, especially artists, like, and Russian artists or Belarusian artists or whatever, that have nothing to do with the war, and that probably, you know, don't agree with the way their country is acting. How many things have happened in the UK under Boris, honestly, that like we don't stand for, or, you know, that you don't stand for, but, you know, it's like, would you want to be treated like in your own community because of what the government does? So I think that that's something that's like quite not fucked up, but it's just like you're penalizing the wrong people, and you're kind of like grouping everybody together to say we're not going to support, like, we're not going to support that, even if actually it means that you doing that would support your community, the people that have been supporting you and the people that have been there for you more than your support, like more than it shows support to the government. So I think that's like one layer of it. I also think that, you know, one of the powers and like one of the most beautiful things about art is like its power to like transcend politics and culture and skin color and religion, and to be something that unifies people. So I think to, in a sense, like let politics divide that thing that we share with people that, you know, I was saying, okay, if Putin wants to come to the jam, I get it.
Don't
you
let
know,
him in.
That you don't want to have him, but at the same time, I feel like it is quite like, not necessarily short-sighted isn't the right word, but it is quite like, I don't know.
Simplistic, maybe.
Yes, simplistic.
It's nuanceless, this response.
Yeah.
The response to that point, though, is that people are saying hip-hop has always been about politics. And in the same way that it's like, let's say like with a lot of the stuff that like black people were going through, Black Lives Matter and stuff, and that seeped into the hip-hop world and stuff. It's like in what the response I'm seeing is that that's the same idea as standing up for this. Is like, hip-hop has always been political, and that's our duty is to...
Yeah, but in a sense,
I'm just
it's
saying
like,
what people said.
Yeah, and I appreciate the argument, but at the same time, it's like, you know, then you're using the fact that it's a politics thing to exclude people.
Yeah, and there's like, you're conflating two ideas.
Yeah.
Because hip hop is political, I believe, but it's like using it to scream about climate change is like... Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, so let's just like pick up causes and like attach it to hip hop, and not to make it like a race related thing, but there's something really off about that. Like it is political, but very specifically. It's not just to like rave about Boris or like, yes, that's what its origins are in, but in like very clear causes, and like to use that as an excuse to exclude people is odd, I think. And also, if I remember rightly, and it might have been a lost in translation type thing, but the way that they wrote about it when they initially excluded the people that they did, it still didn't clearly take a side. It was, do you remember? It was like written like it was for the best of all.
Yeah,
it didn't take like a we stand with Ukraine. It didn't say that, if I remember rightly.
I can have a look.
It was like, for the safety of everybody.
Yeah, it was something like that.
It's like, well, yeah, but also for the safety of everyone, but in the spirit of exclusion.
One thing that really annoys me about this is like,
if they're taking it down.
When you hear the word Russia, you think of the government and their actions. But Russia is so much bigger than that. Like,
it's one of the biggest countries in the world.
Yes, but like, it's like there are many people there who don't agree with the war.
I think it's that.
There's so much more culture and history attached to the word Russia that is beautiful.
Yeah.
But now, like, when someone says I am Russian or like I'm from Russia, they just attach it to, you know, what is happening and the government. And I understand it's the way the human psyche works, but it's a real shame because, like, it's
And you know, to the point that you were saying, Luca, of saying like, why are people doing this now? And I think it's like, I'm not saying it started with Black Lives Matter and Me Too and all of that, but I feel like more and more there is a pressure on like organizations and companies and whatever, or not a
social justice,
not a
cancel culture thing,
or not a pressure, but maybe even a desire to be like, this is what I stand for, and then
we are in the right, we are doing the socially good thing.
This is how I'm gonna stand for it, and then after that, the way people react, like the fact that they've backtracked now. You know, I'm all for, okay, you've made a mistake and you realize maybe this wasn't the best way to go about it.
Also, there are other events who have done that and haven't backtracked.
Yeah.
Who?
There's a couple that I've heard about. I think the Legits Blast did one. I think that's in...
Like, they ban Russian dancers.
Yeah. I don't know where... I forget where the Legits is. I'll have a look now.
I just feel
it's very sad.
It's like, you know, when you make decisions like that, I guess, and maybe they have thought about it of like, okay, like you said, or like we were talking about in the beginning of like the larger implication, and then the individual implication of in a larger way. Okay, you're standing against the war, but in an individual way, you're like preventing someone from your own community who has nothing to do, and who's probably getting barred from a lot of other places, and who's probably doing like well, I don't know for a fact, but like, you know, getting less work, life might be getting harder, also living in a country at war. I'm sure it's not
peachy.
So it's like, okay, well, sure, you're fighting this bigger cause, but what are the effects?
Well, I think
today?
That's partially the point, is that they want to make life, which I don't really agree with, but is that the point is, yes, we want to make life hard for the average Russian citizen so that the entire country protests and blah blah. I don't agree with that approach, but I think that is the whole point. Like, they have thought about that, and they're saying that's what the point is. We want to make life as hard as possible for them, so then they say stop doing it. Now, this isn't a fucking really a democratic country where they
can't even speak up. That's the thing.
Yeah, they're
like,
not voting. They're not, like, people went and protested and got like arrested in
10
like
years,
masses,
like 10 plus years in prison.
So I mean, yeah, like it's really easy to say in a democratic country and from our kind of privileged lifestyle, you know. But yeah, I think another thing to throw in the mix is, you know, from the producer realm, that a lot of events are funded through government initiatives. So it is also very possible that this has come down from the top. That it's not IBE's choice.
In order for you to have this,
if you want this funding, you can't have Russian citizens.
But wouldn't they have said that if it was the case?
It very much depends on what the, like, if that's the case and the government's put this up, because if you're the government and you're thinking on a global scale, maybe you're like, okay, well, anything if we want to affect them, anything our funding goes to, and that might be something huge in terms of like oil or gas or whatever, but then also you might just put out everything, just be like, fuck it, let's just go all out. Anything we put our money into can't involve Russian people. So then it ends up in we're at the end of the tentacle, if you will, of like the thread, and we think, oh, this is weird on this level, but they're looking at the global operation and they're like, yeah, but if you're Russia, you're feeling this across every foreseeable thing. Now, the government in any country looking at the effects on an individual is something that we don't see a lot, you know, like people are always making big decisions in government that affect the little people in bad ways. So it's like, in my head, that would make sense that they've just kind of gone, fuck it. Yeah. Like, some people won't be able to go to their dance events, but we're trying to deal with something bigger here. So we're going to do this to help put pressure on Russia. So yeah, there is also that option. I don't know. And it may be that they've said, yeah, don't like announce it or whatever, because then also I guess there's some, I don't know. I have no idea about politics, but maybe there's some level of like, we don't want it. You know, they're doing all this stuff, like they're not entering into conflict with Russia directly. So maybe they're like, well, we don't want to announce no funds go to Russia, but we're not giving any funds to Russia. You know what I mean?
I will also say, like, I've been to Russia, I think 2 or 3 times. I've been to Russia. So my idea, when I think of Russia, I think of the amazing times I had there and the beautiful people that I met. That's my perception of Russia. Like, I have made a lot of warm connections in Russia, and I was treated very nicely when I was in Russia. And by the way, full disclosure, I do not support.
Yeah, none of us think the war is a good idea. Like, if that needs to be said,
it's horrible. It's horrible. It's horrible. But I think to someone who has never been to Russia, and you know, they get what their idea of Russia is what they get from the media, which they might think that they're just so like stone cold and just kind of crazy. And
again, on the flip side, there's plenty of people, especially like in the Middle East and other countries, that must think America is a fucking horrible place.
Yeah,
but my experiences in America have always been amazing.
This is what they think, and I think to have that perspective is, you know, it's quite dangerous, because then when you do meet a Russian, you have these preconceived ideas of them, and you know. I'm just sad how like it's this war, and we want to advocate for love and peace, but it's creating more division between us and you know, like innocent Russian citizens. Again, I completely condemn the Russian government. I think it's unfathomable. Like I don't understand it. There are things I just don't know and cannot comprehend why these actions have taken place.
Yeah.
I think with any like kind of political situation, I always see these two sides of the coin, which is like one, people being like divisive in a way, but they're like, no, we need to stand up and put people in their place and blah 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 blah. And then the other people who are like, we need to solve this without dividing each other, especially the people that don't, you know, feed into the problem. And then there's like kind of two routes of like how to deal with the same thing, I guess, which is always like you either sit on one side or the other, you know?
But I feel like also, you know, and it is like a delicate situation, and like, you know, whether IB or other jams have decided to take that stance because of external pressures or because it was their own idea and they wanted to make a stance in that way. I feel like, you know, this is just a general thought, and either way, you know, it's like I'm not perfect and I don't have the perfect way of implementing ideas and values, but I think the only thing I would say about this is like, in countries that have controversies, like, you know, like Russia at the moment, or China, or other places that, you know, there's questionable things that happen, which is every fucking country anyways. But I think it's like, it's kind of the trend to say, I stand against Russia, you know, and like, it's the trend, not necessarily it's the easy stance to take, but that's kind of like the acceptable stance that I'm not gonna
get
like
cancelled.
Yeah,
you can go if this is the middle ground. You can go, if you go this direction, you're evil. If you go to this direction, you're good, and you cannot go too far in that direction. So even if you were like going all the way to that end of the thing, you'd have to go really far before society were like, all right, you're going to, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But
like, if you were out on the streets being like, fuck all Russians, blah blah blah, with a sign that says fuck all, like, people would be like, oh yeah, you're a pretty good guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, maybe not, but
like,
I think
you see what I point.
But I think in a way, it's like in these times where it is difficult to take the other stance, you know, and to say we are gonna make a point to like support Russian artists who have nothing to do with this, and to like, you know, I think that that's kind of a difficult position to put yourself in, but at the same time, I feel like it's kind of not to say like it's a brave, like it's
a revolutionary thing,
or like it's a braver thing to do, but I think it's like accepting to see the nuance, and, you know, accepting that there's people who are suffering there, and offering the support to people who are suffering, and like there's no question that, you know, the people of Ukraine are also suffering, but also it doesn't mean that that makes it okay for like people who have nothing to do with it, and that they're going to be excluded from everything. So I think showing the support, like showing support, or kind of not forgetting, you know, the people in these countries that are suffering as well, and not putting everything under an umbrella, is like, now is the time to do those actions. And when it means that maybe you're putting yourself in a compromising or more difficult situation, but like, I don't know, it's just my opinion on the stance to take of not giving up on everybody that's from there, you know, and not forgetting everybody from there, without saying that you like support what the government is doing, but
no, you don't have to.
I just think like kind of having a stance for like the treatment and justice of people
in general,
and choosing to forget about a whole people, like a whole group of people, is for me it just doesn't.
But it's
really
like, you know,
sense,
with any of these kind of bigger issues, when the money and the things come into play, it's like you do get forced into, say, you know, like when what's the country that China wants to say isn't a country? Taiwan. So when I think it was like LeBron James tweeted something, and he said Taiwan in it, like he said, oh blah blah, I was just and then he had to like issue an apology saying, I'm sorry I named Taiwan. And it's like, because the NBA is huge in China, and that most of their money comes from China. So they were under this pressure to like side with the Chinese, and it's like, you know, at the end of the day, like money kind of pushes you in certain directions, and I get that, but it is dangerous to just go along with either the popular or the winning ideology, because it's like China is bigger, has more money, are doing more stuff around the thing, but it's not to say that we agree with, you know, the thing in Taiwan. I'm gonna next pod I'm gonna fucking apologize to China. But yeah, But it's, you know, it's like, it's just these things where I think that the overall thing is like, there are almost no issues that concern social or political or human things that are nuanceless. To put one blanket answer, and this is why I get annoyed with stuff like Twitter, where the most points go to the people that can sum up a topic really easily. And it's like, as if you have this snarky summed up tweet, everyone's like, yeah, that's so true. And it's like, there's no topic that you can sum up in a tweet. So, and I think people have started to think that way. You know, I'm always like, I don't like being like, social media is the worst, but people have started to think in tweets. Like, how can I sum this thing up? Or in TikToks, like, what's the little thing that I can put on my TikTok that everyone's gonna be like, oh, that's actually true, if I don't think about it for longer than 4 seconds. So it's like, you know, saying like, oh, like in a tweet, like, we need to ban Russians from cultural events, blah, blah, they don't, like, you know, this is a horrible thing. You're like, well, yeah, I kind of agree with that sentiment because I think it's horrible. So and you don't give it any more thought than that. And you don't get down to the nuances, pull it apart, and admit that there are some things that are above our understanding level. You know what I mean? It's like, this is not something that I can put a tweet on to solve, and that's why I'm not coming up with an answer now, because I'm not a fucking political scientist or working in government, or I don't know the bigger picture, but I just know summing it up into this will solve it, is, especially on the lower levels, is usually not the way.
You know, I read this thing, I know this is the last thing I say, I promise, but I read this thing that was like, I think it was about ideologies, and it's like, it's not you who adopts an ideology, it's the ideology that adopts you, you know?
It's like a cult almost.
Yeah, so it's like, you know, this idea of like, you know, an idea choosing you or being able to grip onto you or to kind of take you under its thing. So I think it's also being like kind of not
susceptible to that.
Yeah, to like a constant messaging or a constant narrative where it's like, is this really how you feel, and is this really how you want to stand for this thing, as opposed to just being kind of swept up by a wave that's really strong. And
most people are sheep, I can't lie.
And you know, I think in a sense it is difficult to resist sometimes, and we're all susceptible to it in different ways, and you know, it happens to all of us. I'm not talking from a point of like I'm above it, but just of being like trying to be critical and like question the messages and the way of doing things of people, and not saying it's right or it's wrong, but is this the best way to go about it? Who is this hurting? Who is this helping?
I think, you know, it's like why I've always found it a bit weird when, and again, maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, but people that are like call themselves like, I'm left wing, I'm right wing, or I'm a Tory, or I'm
based on like one idea,
but
not
it's
really
like
having
even,
any sense of what
especially
that means.
It's one thing with a football club, right? Let's say I'm a Manchester United fan. That means when they do dumb stuff, I'm a Manchester United fan. When they do good stuff, I'm a Manchester United fan. Like when they win, when they lose, blah, blah. You don't want that with a political party or an ideology. Like, oh, I'm Labour regardless. So then when they do dumb shit and they do stuff that's hurting everyone, you're like, well, I'm Labour. No, like you shouldn't be attached to a side of something
regardless
social.
of what they do.
Yeah, you should be like, oh, I'm based on...
Have a moral compass.
Yeah, have a moral compass and be like,
compass.
These are the things that I believe. And as soon as that party starts swaying from it and someone else starts speaking to me, I'll vote for them. I'm not loyal to a political party. I'm loyal to the good treatment of people. And I think that's, again, maybe if I'm oversimplifying things, but I don't understand when people like identify themselves with a thing that can change.
I think that's maybe not like new, but I just don't think generations past we weren't engaging with ourselves on such a level where there were just so many different parts that make our identity was built on kind of camps and clubs and ways of thinking, rather than a bit of that, bit of that, bit of that. So I can understand it, but it's just not where we are now, I don't think. But on what Jem was saying about just wanting to take a stance, it's like I think everyone is so keen to have a say or like state their position on things without really thinking ahead to their capacity to learn about it. So yeah, war's bad and I'll read that like article about it, and then I don't have the capacity to read anything that might oppose or might fill out this picture anymore, so I'll just like share the flag. Nice, but like again, there's just so much nuance. I just don't say things about things that I don't know about now, which is why I just tend to be very boring and repeating the same things, because I'm only really wanting to discuss the things that I have knowledge on.
Yeah, I read something in a marketing book, which I think I've spoken about in the pod before, but it's something that I thought is such a good idea. I'm like applying it to life now, which is like they were talking about selling a product, right? And one of the exercises you should go through in terms of marketing your product is say to yourself, why is the customer right to choose my competitor? So if me and Dylan are both putting on a class at the same day, people go to his, like, or even metaphorically or hypothetically, why would someone be right to choose Dylan over me? Like, what's the, like, let me play complete devil's advocate. Oh, he's better at this. He does this more. He's like, cool. Now I've identified the things that I am unaware of. And I think like it's a good thought exercise to do with anything. It's like, I completely believe this thing. Okay, cool. There are people in this world who believe the opposite to what I'm saying. Like even racists that I'm like 100%, there's no part of me that like thinks that racism is right or that like there's a legit excuse. But there are people in this world who think that's right. So if I do the thought experiment to say, okay, what would they be thinking? What is their reasoning? What is their logical, not just, oh, they're stupid and dumb. What's their logical, like a person that thinks they're really making an informed decision to be racist. What is that? And then by doing that thought exercise, I think you start to understand those things. So now you're not just screaming at a racist, stop being a stupid asshole. You're like, listen,
I understand that.
I understand where you're coming from, and here's how we can counteract that. Let me educate you. Let me tell you these things. And I think you become a smarter and more nuanced human being if you try to put yourself in the other person's shoes, even if it's, you know, hopefully it's not at that end of the extreme all the time that is like war or fucking racism or whatever. But for even for little things of like, why are people, you know, I it's something super small, but it's like when someone's like drives like an asshole or bumps into me on the train and they're being super grumpy, I'm like, I'm pissed because you treated me bad. But why are you right to do that? Oh, you've had a really bad day. Let's say you need to get
called
to work.
Empathy, kids.
I'm in the exactly like having empathy for the
Read
other
about
side. I think it's a good way to think.
Yes, just like step outside of yourself for a second, basically.
Yeah, and there's no thing that. It's very rare that people are just blindly like doing stupid stuff. They have a reasoning. So if we can get to that, maybe we can, you know, like...
Yeah, everyone believes that they are good.
Yeah.
Like they have reasons in their brain, in their makeup, in their programming, the information that they've received that tell them that what they're doing is right.
And if we can understand what that is, it will be more effective in combating it.
We turned it around to a positive.
I think we kind of got to wrap up because these two got to go.
I need to eat.
And this is the last podcast.
Oh yeah, so just to say this is the last podcast, not ever, in this beautiful space. I'm not going to say where we're going to be. I will announce that next week when we're there. But we're going to move the podcast for a short time. We're actually moving house, so we're going to be setting up in a new place. In the meantime, we're going to maybe have a little partnership here and there. We're going to maybe have a little something. But we'll talk about that next week as part of next week's episode. But yeah, so just, I mean, we're coming up for getting closer to a year that the capsule's been around. I won't do the whole...
Ooh, baby.
It feels like way longer. What?
Do you think so?
I'm like when I say a year, I mean a year since
The capsule.
the podcast like started, and that was the first week that I made the Instagram and started all that. It started with the podcast.
It's only been a year. It feels like
not even yet. It's like 2 months,
like
a month and a half.
But
away.
in internet age, that's like 5 years.
And also
Yeah.
It feels like
capsule,
you've
not
been here for
anything,
time.
not Duke London
Not Duke Lo-
podcast.
yeah,
No,
I've been
I know, but it just feels like Capsule's been about, innit? You know, it's Capsule.
Embedded in the scene.
But yeah, so I mean, the only touch wood that we don't miss any from now until the 1 year. But I missed 4 weeks when my dad passed, and that's it in the 52 weeks in the year.
Slacker.
Ouch. dare you?
Just at the funeral, like, right, so what happened this week, guys?
I like dark jokes.
Yeah, me too.
Oh god, they were on it for a while. It was too much for
bad
me.
jokes.
It was too
really?
much.
I was making jokes at the funeral. Jen was like, stop.
We're gonna be
Hey,
great.
it's a coping mechanism.
It is, yeah.
But yeah, all that to say, this is 100% just the beginning. We're going to do a little kind of transfer period, and then after the year we'll be in our new place, and then we'll hopefully upgrade and push the podcast further and do more stuff. So I don't want to say this now, but it's the end of this era, so it feels appropriate to do a little wrap. But I just want to say thank you to specifically Jen, Tally and Abe for being the kind of resident podders. I think it's been super nice to have you, all three of you guys, here on a regular. I think it's really like elevated the pod and done more. We've had a fucking load of guests in this space, so I can't remember them all, so apologies if I miss you. But like, obviously Dylan, thank you for being here. Vanessa's been here. Lee's been here. Kane's been here. The Delia, I always get the name
The
wrong.
subscribers.
Yeah. Shout out to you guys. Nadia's been here. Well, she came
On
for
the
an actual
Capsule.
episode of the podcast. So we did an interview, but not the pod.
Oh, okay.
Who else has been here for
I feel
podding
like
days?
that's
That might be it, right?
Lewis.
Lewis has been here. Sorry, Lewis.
I think that's everyone.
That might be everyone.
Wow.
But yeah, so anyway,
awesome.
massive thanks for everyone. And even more than that, the people that are listening. I always get down on I try not to get bogged down by the numbers, but it does bring me down sometimes when I'm looking and I'm like, this channel's got way more, or like, I wish it was at like, fucking 5-digit numbers and all that on the YouTube and stuff. But I know that there are people that listen every week and they do message me, and even if they're not like I would love if you would post more on your stories, guys. But I know people
That's
that
so
Let them
awesome.
support how they support. Okay.
Yeah,
Like,
that's true.
subscribe, and comment.
Yeah, but I know there's people that, like I saw Camille posted something, or Joe Monkey Flip, or there's a bunch of other people. I mean, Lewis, Little J from Manchester, like people that I know listen a lot and will just randomly be like, oh yeah, you were talking about that on the pod. And I'm like, oh, you listen? They're like, I listen
it's
every
weird.
week.
Yeah.
Joe Reed, who is like helped me massively in the growth of the podcast and stuff. I know she tunes in. That's actually how she ended up starting helping me, because she tuned in so much. She was like, oh, do you want to do more with it? So yeah, it's really nice. And I think anything that's successful starts with like a group of like people that will ride for you. So I always know that I'm going to ride for this, but like the people that have latched on and helped me and supported and wanted to build and listened and fucking shared the stuff, or been here or made the effort to come, you guys. It just means a lot. And I'm hoping it kind of makes me want to push it, because I'm like, I don't want you guys to have wasted your time on some half-assed project that I failed at. You know what I mean? It's like, so many people care about this and invest time. I need to make it worth the time that they've put in, besides my own time, but also that. But yeah,
We love you and we're proud of you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's very
are
true.
you going to hit the button prematurely, as always?
Well,
She
I
always
mean,
cuts me off mid-sentence to put
that was a
button.
good place to wrap.
That
It's
was a
like
good
it
place
got
to wrap.
emotional, and then I say we love you, and then
Okay.
oh shit.
Okay, good. Let me just say goodbye. Thank you guys. Like and comment and subscribe to everything. There's the link in the bio to donate. If you would like to. Dylan fucking
Gave him that NFT money.
and there were a few other people that donated, and I really appreciate that.
Did Dylan donate?
Yeah, it did.
That's really sweet.
And yeah, it was really nice. A lot of people that, when we first put out the thing, a lot of people that I didn't expect, just randomly, I didn't even know they were even aware of what I was doing, and they just dropped a little £5 or something. It's like, it all helps. And there's a lot of stuff that it will help me to do. Equipment breaks and needs to be upgraded. There's loads of stuff. But yeah, thank you. Massive thank you actually to Sophia, who's also recently joined the team. And yeah, we will see you next week in a new venue. And love you all, guys. Peace out.
Yay, bye.